all that good stuff. So I brought up Jack Levin. Jack, good to have you up here. I hate to throw you on the spot immediately when you come up on stage, but talk to me about like the shit you're working on and what you think about it. Before that, because I just think it's so interesting. I learned about it the other day, and I think people should know about it. But before that, what do you think about the market right now? Things are pumping. Is your thesis the same as it's always been? Are you buying anything? What do you think?
Well, I have held Bitcoin for a while now. Well, definitely it was a good time to buy it when FTX collapsed. Pretty much, I would say when FTX collapsed, if you look at the chart, that was the best time to buy. It looks like the bull market started right there at the end of the year. So definitely good news coming from ETFs getting approved. There's just a lot of momentum with the narrative that the regular population and institutional money will finally find a better roads into crypto, into Bitcoin. And if Bitcoin pumps, I mean, it's not going to pump like alts, but it's just going to take everything up like massively. I mean, like we saw Solana pump from like $20 to 60 yesterday, which is pretty significant. And Avalanche pumped like 40% today, I think. So yeah, I mean, like overall, definitely, I think the market is buying the rumor or front running the rumor. I don't know if it's going to sell the news. We'll see. But it's exciting.
I think that's a fair take. Okay. Do you think a lot of this stuff is priced in? We were talking about the halvening earlier, and historically, when the halvening comes around, things kind of pump after. But because that's happened historically, people are now feeling like they can front run that. Do you think that we're like everything is too high now because it's priced in already? I mean, what do you think?
So I don't think it's too high. I think the government's inflation continues to be unbound, and the geopolitical tensions also bullish for crypto. So I mean, the more trouble happening in the world as we're seeing today, definitely we're gonna see people trying to gravitate towards ultrasound money more and more, and crypto specifically.
Fair. I think it's a fair take. Okay, look, are you comfortable talking about what you're working on?
Yeah, I'm totally comfortable.
I just think it's super cool.
Yeah, I'm totally comfortable. So what's the first question?
I mean, what is it? Because like even like when we chatted about it the other day, we talked for like 30 minutes. I still don't understand what it is. Like a lot of it went.
So a year ago, I launched Zen on 12 different chains, and number 13 was VMPX on Bitcoin, which like almost crashed Bitcoin. May 7th, I think it made caused the flippening where the fees on Bitcoin actually were more than the actual subsidy from the block discovery, which actually caused Michael Saylor to turn towards ordinals and just get really bullish with alts on Bitcoin, which is like never happened before. So Laser Eyes are in shambles, and Michael Saylor is, sailing away into the narrative of ordinals, which is basically NFTs, and BRC20s as well, which is like really, really cool for Bitcoin. So, but as I was watching the various launches of Zen, I saw just how poorly designed the chains were. Most of the chains could not handle the load. The fees would skyrocket, and I was being called names for ruining everything for everyone, which was kind of interesting. I mean, like the really only chain that really did so well was Phantom, but everything else, including Polygon and Binance, they just suffered. And so that led me to think, like, what exactly does cause that sort of suffering? What is the deal with the fees? Why are the fees so high? Like everywhere. Like, what is this? Is it design? Like, what can it be done better? And what I realized is that there's the chain design is based on the Nakamoto consensus. And Nakamoto consensus basically means that you have sequentially executed blocks, and those blocks have several parameters. They have the block size, which is how much compute and how much storage you can fit into a block. For Bitcoin, it's 4 megabytes. For Ethereum, they estimate it in 30 million gas. And then there's also a timer, just completely arbitrary timer. So for Bitcoin, it's 10 minutes, and for Ethereum, it's 12 seconds. Ethereum blocks are about 30 kilobytes, and Bitcoin blocks can be as big as 4 megabytes. And this sort of sequential transaction processing and things being slow actually causes the gas fees to jump everywhere when there's something exciting going on, like an NFT mint. Somebody, like a million people, want something that is limited, like let's say 5,000 units or 1,000 units or even 10,000 units. But if a million people just pile into the chain, but the chain has those restrictions where the blocks are processed sequentially, what will happen is that it will create an auction for being prioritized within the block, and that actually causes the fees to move higher. And so Ethereum took a little bit of time thinking like, well, maybe they should do sharding, and the sharding narrative was happening like for the last 4 years. But now it seems to be that they have stepped away from sharding and trying to optimize layer twos. The problem with layer twos are they're severely centralized. They can censor your transactions. They're not really first principles chains. And it is what it is, but it's not really a solution for speed. So I started looking at the fastest chains possible, like that I could find. And I saw that Avalanche is really fast and Solana is very fast. And as I was looking deeper into those chains, I realized that they're kind of stepping away from the Nakamoto consensus. And again, Nakamoto consensus is this like invention by Satoshi where the blocks are running in sequence and they have limited space, and people have to bid to be included in those blocks. And whenever something hot happens, the chain is ruined for everybody, including the Salvadorian children that are trying to ask their parents to buy them ice cream with Bitcoin, and they go to an ATM and it's cost them $20 to withdraw Bitcoin or move it around, which is unacceptable. So I mean, there's like Lightning solution and all that, but Lightning is like really not scalable. It's also very, very centralized. So Solana came up with this kind of like an alternative solution. They said that we will not really do a Nakamoto consensus. We will do this proof of stake, flat layer chain that's supposed to be really, really, really fast. And it is really fast. And when the chain is fast, it actually causes the fees go down just because you can get to most of your trades relatively cheaply. The other thing that they do really well is that they have segregated pools for transaction fees. For example, wallet to wallet transactions, when you just send Solana back and forth, it lives in its own pool. And if there's a rush to mint NFTs, those fees are staying segregated within their own pools. So a spike in NFT fees will not cause a spike in transactions for everything else, which is really a good idea and an alternative idea to sharding and layer twos, both of them combined. And so as I was doing my research over the last year since I launched Zen, I figured I could probably launch a better chain, probably better than Solana, probably better than Avalanche, and definitely better than Ethereum. And I'm not saying like it is anything extraordinary, but those guys, they have this giant uh, intellectual debt and engineering debt, and it happens when you raise ton of money, like Solana raised 300 million, and obviously Ethereum also raised, and there's a bunch of other chains that raised, so they act like companies. And now they have to report to investors and say, okay, well, this is where we're going, and by the way, we hired 100 engineers, and now we can't really change the roadmap that rapidly just because we have this momentum and we're responsible for everybody's money that they raised. So that's a problem, and it actually causes mediocrity kind of like to creep in into your design. And we definitely see it with how Nakamoto consensus doesn't scale. Solana scales, but their problem is that they're unstable. And the reason why they're unstable is because they have this consensus mechanism where every node talks to every other node. It's an n squared chatter that exists on chain. So like if they double their nodes, uh, quadratically, the amount of traffic will kill their chain. So the only salvation for Solana are faster servers, which they always talk about. They say hardware will save us. Anything that's, if bandwidth cheaper and hardware is cheaper, then they don't have to optimize the algorithm so much, which is kind of true. But I don't like it because I think there are better algorithms out there than n squared communications for the consensus protocol. And so what I decided to do, I decided to experiment and go back to the roots of proof of work. And I launched this thing just a couple of months ago that just was an experiment on the weekends. I wrote a proof of work engine, and I plugged it in into a chain that I just wrote in Python, like really quickly, like within half a day. And I put it on Twitter thinking that it's going to run for like maybe 12 hours, maybe 24, and then I'll shut it down. But what happened is 15,000 people came to mine using CPUs because the difficulty was low. And it really reminded me of the Bitcoin days when I joined Bitcoin and I was mining Bitcoin in 2010, 2011 with like GPUs and CPUs. And so the community rapidly formed around that project, and people really got very excited. Started mining, started producing documentation, started building wallets and explorers. And there was this like Asian guy that showed up. He's like, "Hey, your miner's pretty cool, but I can make it better." And he took a project that uh, converted my miner to GPU. So now, like most of the mining on Zen blocks, which is the name of the chain, is happening with the GPUs, which is really really cool because you can buy GPU time hourly without needing to commit to a monthly server lease. Like you can literally rent 4090 GPU for a couple of hours and try it, and then like you spend a couple of bucks an hour, and then you're done. And so that sort of flexibility really attracted a lot of people, including the Asian community. Like they formed their own group called like Zen Blocks China or something like that, and they're like talking Chinese there. And so it's been 2 months, and things have been crazy. This whole thing is just blowing up. And then I thought, well, this is actually an important kind of like type of thing. People are definitely attracted to the fact that they can mine coins without coins being pre-mined. And so currently, I'm working on an integration of what I would call kind of like this hyper enhanced Nakamoto consensus that plugs in into the novel algorithms that Avalanche and Solana are using. But I'm rather than using Rust, I'm using Go language, which is like more Ethereum style, and all of the chain primitives are Ethereum compatible. Like for example, you start mining with an Ethereum wallet, and you can sign your blocks with your private keys that you actually share with Ethereum. The future there is that I'm thinking that Ethereum transactions will be possible on Zen blockchain, and you will be able to cross bridge without actually changing a wallet. And that's actually what other things that like a lot of chains they make mistakes with. They build their chains and they immediately come up with a new wallet that now like no one has. But everybody's like have MetaMask and have like Rabby and like other wallets that are Ethereum compatible. So currently Zenblocks is compatible with MetaMask. You can actually see the balance that you're mining. The other thing that's like really different, I mean, besides the consensus protocol, what I'm doing really is that I am using the Nakamoto consensus for data durability, but for speed, I wrote something by myself, um, based on research of Avalanche and Solana, and also EOS. I don't know if you guys remember EOS. Um, Now it's called the Antelope open source project. But there was a lot of research there on like how to make transactions really, really, really fast. And so I did some benchmarks, and it looks like we're going to be at least 1,000 times faster than Solana, which I know is like a crazy claim, but the numbers are like literally, you can look at them yourself. You can look at my Twitter and click on the link and test the transaction. You can execute 5,000 transactions with 1 second on the relatively slow node. On a fast node, it's like 12,000 transactions per second. Single thread, single core, and the modern CPUs can go up to 96 cores. So we're talking about hundreds of thousands of transactions per second that can be done with basically Ethereum cryptography, which is super awesome. But so this is the tech talk, right? And obviously some people are into it. But what I really want to do that's different economically is I wanted this chain to be NFT forward. or NFT first. So in other words, I want the digital artists to come to the chain to get their collection minted for a fraction of a dollar. And the reason why it would be a fraction of a dollar, because it would not have this sort of Nakamoto consensus style sequence of blocks that you need to wait and bid for. Like, you wouldn't have to bid for your transactions so much. You can just mint your NFTs on chain using, like, JPEGs or SVGs. You can do it very rapidly and like for less than a couple of bucks. And I think a lot of chains are really trying to dive into DeFi, but I think what they're not really appreciating is how strong the NFT communities can be and how they're strong right now. And I think the first thing we're going to do with that chain, obviously, it's going to be first principles, which means immutability, open source, um, no pre-mines, pre-mints of any kind that belongs to the community completely and entirely, belongs to the miners, and launch an NFT, kind of like this accelerated smart contract there that powered by the chain.
Okay. So obviously a lot there to unpack. What is the trade-off for the speed? Because I know when you achieve those levels of speed, you're typically trading off an aspect of decentralization or security or scalability. Is there any trade-off there with Zen or no?
So that is actually a misnomer. I know Vitalik loves talking about it, but that's because he's applying it to the Nakamoto consensus. It only affects Nakamoto consensus specifically. Like, in other words, you have limited block size, and then you have limited or you have restriction of time, how often the block actually is injected into the chain. It is under those conditions the blockchain trilemma exists. It doesn't exist when you actually combine hybrid protocols, proof of stake and proof of work together. So there will be no instability. It will be just immutable, and it will scale too. So I don't think that's going to be an issue.
So are you the first person to kind of attempt this hybrid proof of stake, proof of work, or have there been other attempts?
There have been other attempts. There was a chain called Decred, I believe, and they were not very popular just because they really screwed up their governance, and they were also not Ethereum compatible. So there's like a lot of missteps there with tokenomics and the overall chain economy. So they're not really doing that well. And also, like, they changed from proof of work to proof of stake, and then they changed back, and then they just kept adjusting ratios, what kind of rewards people should be getting, this and that. So it's, again, we all stand on shoulders of the giants. So their mistakes is our opportunity just to do a better job.
So you mentioned that you want the chain to be, and by the way, because I got a DM about this is not a sponsored thing in any way. I just think what Jack's doing is really cool and interesting. So you mentioned that you want the chain to be NFT forward focus, all this different stuff, creators being able to essentially mint their collections for a fraction of the dollar. But what about the number one kind of issue and topic when it comes to NFTs and creators specifically is royalties? I mean, is that something that you've thought of with Zen? I mean, is there enforceable royalties? I mean, how are you approaching that?
To be honest, I haven't really thought about this, but I really like, once we get the marketplace off the ground, it's definitely going to be a fair deal. Again, like, the chain is a platform, and the creators and the builders should get compensated with the minimum taxation. I think high gas on all chains is just tax on adoption, and we want chains to be adopted by the greater population. And until we achieve a truly decentralized chain with low fees that actually is not front run by investors, I don't think we're going to get there. So I think that is the kind of like the goal for myself for the next few years, is to get to that point, actually, is to produce a chain that is extremely affordable, is fair, without unneeded taxation that other chains have by either on purpose or by design.
Okay. Well, I mean, if we have any questions on stage to Jack specifically, more than welcome. We'll go to Jake first. Jake, what do you think?
Real quick, do you mind if I ask some questions about what he's building?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so you said it's gonna be EVM compatible, right? Is it an EVM chain, or is it a whole nother chain that can just be compatible with Ethereum?
So it would run the EVM virtual machine, but the actual blocks that are being produced are written from scratch. So not the beacon chain, not anything that Ethereum is using. So it's going to have its own block structure and data structure. Yeah.
And then is it going to be something that like you can import into MetaMask, or you're going to have to build a whole new wallet for it?
No. Like I said before, MetaMask works right now. So it's Ethereum compatible, which means that all Ethereum transactions that are compatible with Ethereum are fully portable to the new chain.
Okay, yeah, that's it for now.
All right.
Thank you. All right, we'll go over to Tommy. Tommy, what's up?
Man, this is exactly what I'm talking about, coming into these spaces and then getting these, big brain people talking. I have the best website for you. I'm sent you a DM. Love what you're speaking right now because I deal with a lot of content creators. Biggest thing is these gas fees and these, it's taken forever by Z, right? And so I think what you're doing is evolving the space, taking things that are people are seeing and just kind of putting into your own forefront, which I'm all about. And I'm all about creators and people winning. So, I mean, I'm excited for this project 100%. But this was also another thing on the topic, but, bringing up different ecosystems, different groups of people. And I think the drop in Solana and everything brought me into that ecosystem. And I found a lot of great NFTs, great projects, and so forth. Found out it's really fast, all these things that people are talking about. I think it does bring in a little sense of adoption across different ecosystems, which I think is needed in the space because so many people, I mean, when I first came in the space, so many people would like smug their nose on Solana and like, what? You don't touch that. No. That's for the pores or whatever it may be. But really, it honestly has some great people I've met, and it's fast and has some really good applications. So I'm excited for on any of these new things, taking the good out of most of these chains, right, and building into their own. So keep up the good work, brother. I'm definitely bullish on this.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I think Solana has like really amazing community. They're very very strong. What's really actually surprising about what happened there is that because they chose Rust as the language, they attracted a lot of nerds who tried to learn Rust and figure things out. And you would think it would be not like something attractive because everybody knows Solidity, but in reality, all those nerdy engineers just loved the new reason to learn the new language, and that's how their community really formed. Another thing that I learned about Solana is that they were very surprised how successful they were with NFTs and compressed NFTs, and how like this whole NFT paradigm moved them forward in terms of being very very popular as a chain. So definitely a lot to learn from those guys.
Do you know about Fire Dancer?
I know all about Fire Dancer. I have their code. I looked at it. I unpacked it and I tested it.
Well, what do you think? I mean, that's a good question. What do you think about Fire Dancer? Do you think it's going to be as impactful as people are saying it's going to be?
So I need to be very careful how I choose my words. um, so the way that I look at Fire Dancer is a marketing thing at this point, because the way that they ran their test, they didn't actually test the slowest part, which is the state transition changes, or specifically when you change balances. The actual um, cryptography in Solana without Fire Dancer is just fine. The Fire Dancer runs a little bit faster. It's written in C and C++, and Solana is written in Rust. And so when they talk about this 1 million transactions per second, they're not even touching the storage, and they're not touching a database, and they're not doing transitions, which is really a poor way to represent something that's like supposed to be really impactful for the chain. I think their founder Anatoly, like he's really cool dude, and I think even he realizes, and he's trying to sneak in this sort of a narrative saying, by the way, even if Fire Dancer is 10 times faster, it is unlikely that's going to make Solana 10 times faster. So Solana is kind of like, they're involved with Jump, and Jump is this like big hedge firm that heavily involved in crypto. And I think strategically it makes sense for them to build a new validator, and they're just helping each other to market themselves. But in reality, Fire Dancer is not going to be a game changer for Solana, just because it doesn't touch the state. And like in all of the work that they have done was like literally a lab test. I took their code, I took some of the code elements, and I ran it on my Macintosh at home, like on my Mac Studio, and I actually got faster numbers uh, just by running it myself and rebuilding it in a different language. I tried it in Rust, so I went from C to Rust, and then I went from and I looked at their source code, so that's how I know. And then I went to Go, Golang, and that language also executed almost on par in terms of the speed. So whatever they're doing with C and C++ is really not that big of a deal. So, but hey, they're excited about it, so I don't want to like, dunk on them about that. But like, really, if I were to do any tests, I would do full stack tests, meaning from a wallet or at least from a web page, hit the protocol with like a few thousand transactions, record the state, change the balances, report back. That's how you do testing. You don't like show a test in the lab and then like say, hey, million transactions, this is awesome. But it's not like really ever going to happen because all of those other elements are so much slower within the blockchain.
So what you're saying is it's gonna be a plus, right? Like it's definitely gonna benefit the chain. It's helpful, but it's not gonna be this, 10,000x in performance for Solana that a lot of people are claiming it to be. Do you think that's fair?
I think it's totally fair. Definitely not going to be a game changer. What will really be helpful strategically is that's going to be another system or another validator code base that can be alternatively used as an option. For like Ethereum, for example, has like 7 different clients. People write it in Rust, in Python, in obviously it's written in Go, in Java too. There's crazy amount of like EVM compatible clients that are written, which actually makes Ethereum stronger, just because people have options as far as like which validator code to run. And I think so. Solana has Jito, which is like a second validator, and Fire Dancer, I think it's going to be the third one. But then I don't think they're anywhere close in like really the like full release yet. I mean, like they have it on a test net, and I have to really bang on it like to see exactly what it does. But anyway, so I think it's good to have a third one. I don't think it's going to be so impactful in terms of performance.
What about Sui and Aptos? Because those were marketed as maybe Solana killers or kind of going down that route of being extremely fast. I am sure you've looked into them. I mean, what is your take there?
So I don't know much about Sui. I only know like the founder has a man bun, and that's like the only thing I know. Aptos is pretty cool, but it kind of smells a little fishy to me because it's like they have very weird tokenomics, and I think like the chain is not even fairly distributed. Like they run most of their validators themselves, and it kind of smells like Binance, which is fine. I mean, like you can call it's still a chain, right? It's just not decentralized. So like that would be my criticism. But I think it's cool, and they use I think they use Move language, so I think it's a good alternative. But I don't like the chains that are so centralized. So that's my take.
Do you think a chain needs to be fully decentralized or mostly decentralized to be successful? Or do you think we're going to see some very centralized chains that end up getting a lot of adoption, maybe on the gaming side or whatever it might be?
So it depends how you define success. Like, for example, FTX as a trading platform was very successful, and it really worked really well. until it died, because it isn't different than E-Trade or Morgan Stanley or whatever, these centralized firm of choice. The point is, like, I'm in crypto to be fully decentralized and have self-custody of my own assets. That's like what I'm here for. And I think a lot of people are also. And so if you define success as buying a token at the right time and then like having crazy gains, well, you can do it with stocks, and you could have done it with FTX too. And it's fine. I mean, you will make money. But ultimately, I think, the way that I define success is something that's millions of people can use, and it is truly not have this censorship possibility, and definitely it would have censorship resistance, because that's what Satoshi really the guiding principle of the development of the Bitcoin blockchain is to move the funds into self-custodial wallets that the people have, and nobody can take it away from you. And so as soon as if you give people reasons to exist, and like I had a conversation with a good friend of mine, and they were saying like, hey, I actually prefer the ease of use, so I don't mind centralization. And it's fine. Like Coinbase is centralized and Robinhood is centralized, and I use both. And I know that they can freeze my account and take my money, and I'm okay with that. And so I don't give them too much money. But it's kind of like this ideological thing, like how do you define what is success, right? So, yeah.
Okay. Final question here, because just picking your brain, and then we'll go to the hands. And I totally agree with you on this. This question of what is success, because for some people it's buying a shit coin at 500K market cap that they bought at, or selling at 500K that they bought at 20K or whatever it might be. There's different definitions for everybody. Two more chains I want to ask you about. So one of them being Algorand, and then one of them being Chia. If you know anything about the two, I'm sure you do. What is your take?
So Chia, they have those really cute hard drives, proof of space. I really like it actually, because it doesn't take like a lot of energy to get rewards and stuff. I don't know much about their tokenomics, but I know that they're also NFT forwards, and seems like a really fun and cool project. And I do like this novel proof of space idea. And I don't know if you've seen those green hard drives that some companies selling. I think they're super cute. So I actually have a Chia node in the wallet. It's off right now, but I've been like trying to see what it does. That's all I know about it. Algorand, unfortunately, I haven't done much research there, so can't comment.
Yeah, Algorand, I always bring it up just because I don't know enough about it, but I was looking for takes. But no, I appreciate the responses. I mean, I'll throw it to some of these hands here. I do want to go to someone who hasn't spoken yet. Go to Mark. Okay. Mark, what's up? What do you think here?
Yeah, so my question for you is mainly, what's your major selling point? Because when you were talking about how you feel like it could semi-compete with like the Solana NFT market down the road, and you talked about how Solana's built up the NFT space pretty well, and the community really loves and supports Solana NFTs. What would get them to then leave that? Because I feel like when we talk about Solana in terms of like its speed and everything like that, we don't really complain about the speed. That's not something that we complain about. If anything, we've had people who go from Ethereum to Solana and talk about how great Solana is because of that. So what would be your major selling point if you were talking to somebody in Solana as to like why they should check out your chain versus just staying on Solana in general?
So it would be very hard to compete with Solana just because they have $300 million. They raised that much. I haven't raised any money. I don't plan to. I think on ideology, we're definitely going to win, just because our chain belongs to the people in its truest sense of the word. If you look at the Solana's token distribution, you can see how heavily centralized the chain is. And when I say centralized, the foundation and the company of Solana has a lot of influence. Solana as a token is a security. They sold it as a security when they raised money. So there's no shame in being a security. However, if you don't want to participate in this like kind of like this traditional security market, then you would be using Zen blocks or something similar that has true decentralization and true tokenomics that actually follows the Satoshi's principles and immutability principles, and doesn't have the sort of influence of investors or the interior team, that sort of thing, or original team. On the technology, I think Solana is awesome, but it is very unstable. We know it's unstable. I know exactly why they're unstable. I can go and talk about it for like half an hour, but I don't want to take too much of the time. So, but anyway, that's my point. My point is that our fees are going to be cheaper, and we're going to be faster by like 1,000 times at least. And I know it's a crazy claim, but it is actually going to happen because I'm looking at the data. It seems to be true.
Wait, so, go ahead, Mark.
Do you feel like, how far do you feel like the decentralization conversation can go, though? And my only reason why I say that is because we talk on spaces all the time, and people bring up how there are decentralization maxis and stuff like that. And we're having that conversation on Twitter, which is a very centralized platform. So are there enough people that really care about that in your estimate to have enough people using your chain to really get to the level that you want to get to? I guess because that's my thing. I've been in the NFT space for 2 years now, and I feel like that's been a nonstop conversation, yet there hasn't really been anything that's been built, especially from like, I feel like an app would have been built a long time ago, social media app that was decentralized, and yet we still haven't seen anything like that. And so in terms of, again, Solana, yes, it is pretty centralized, but again, is that something that the average person really cares about? That's more my question.
I think a person who is using Solana will continue to use Solana. I use Solana. I just know what I'm getting into, and I think it's totally fine to use centralized chains, but I think people should have a choice. They should have a choice to have a chain as fast as Solana, and just following pure decentralization paradigms. And given that choice, when the new person comes into the crypto space, they can now choose: should they go into centralized chains like Arbitrum, Base, Optimism, Solana, and there's, I'm sure, plenty others, or should they choose something that's more first principles? And if they choose the first principles, we will be one of the few chains that are completely decentralized. I think Ethereum is very decentralized because their foundation owns less than 1% of Ethereum. I think that they did raise money, being a Swiss foundation or a company, whatever the structure was, by selling Ethereum and raising Bitcoin. I think it is fine to start like that, but I think in this particular case we can avoid it.
So, Jack, well, also, I think the way that Ethereum raised, and like a way a lot of these blockchains raise, like it's becoming less and less effective now, and there's too much like regulatory risk. But you mentioned you could talk for 30 minutes about why Solana is unstable. And you don't have to do 30 minutes, but if you could TLDR, like explain, like I'm 3 years old, to you, why is Solana unstable?
So LE3, right? Like LE3 is explained like M3. Sure. So I'll give you highlights. The way that the protocol works is that they have an n-squared complexity in the network control messages. So if you go to their Explorer, solscan.com or whatever that the name is, I think it's Solscan for sure, you can actually look at their transactions, and you can see that there's about 4,000 transactions right now, and 92% of those transactions are votes. So those votes are covering the other 8% of transactions that are like real trades and NFT mints and so on and so forth. So what's happening is that as they add more validators, their network traffic is increasing for all the votes that they're doing. So every node has to get a state from another node, and they have to exchange information by voting. And this voting just absolutely destroying the network. I'm running a Solana node right now, and I'm looking at the traffic, and that thing is not doing anything except processing votes, and it's at 90% capacity. So as soon as any sort of bug creeps into the network state, there's a cascading effect that touches every validator, and every validator freaks out. And when I say validator, I mean nodes, just because they only have 10% spare capacity to handle. But if you have a cascading failure, then you just don't have enough margin of error and capacity in your hardware to handle the network recovery. So that's why, like, last time they died. And by the way, they had a very major glitch just like a couple of weeks ago. You could see it, like all of the transactions went to nothing. But like a year ago, when they had this major outage, they couldn't even fix it. They had to power the chain completely off and restart it from like an earlier state, just because one of the validators did an update to the new software and did not turn off the old validator code. And it was producing blocks simultaneously from the old version and the new version. It interfered with consensus and poisoned the chain, and that's why they collapsed. It wasn't like crazy NFT mint that killed them, or DDoS or anything like that. It was literally an operator error that when somebody upgraded, a single node they upgraded out of like 2,000 nodes that they're running, maybe 3,000 now, one node killed the whole network just because the network is not resilient enough. And it's designed specifically to have this like node to node communication, which is n squared. So you have 100 nodes, well, square that. You have 1,000 nodes, now you have millions of messages that are hitting your network for really without like no reason. So that's why they have this sort of instability.
Is this an instability that can be fixed with a future upgrade? Is there any solution to these problems?
Of course, definitely can be fixed, but they're not really willing to fix it because they keep talking about how the faster hardware will save them. But you know what? Faster hardware is cool, but when you design algorithms to take advantage of the speed without writing the code and the actual business logic of your protocol to be efficient, like you're basically saying my mistakes in efficiency or my kind of like laziness in developing something better is going to be covered up by faster hardware. And to an extent, it's true. But the problem is when you have a quadratic network message exchange, you cannot actually, like, even if your computer power doubles every year, but you have a quadratic issue with the number of nodes being added, if your chain gets popular just with infrastructure, no amount of fast hardware can solve the protocol problems. So all they have to do is fix their protocol, actually change it to something else, because this one just makes them unstable. And again, I know this because I run a Solana node, not to like make money, but just like to look at their code and to see how the whole thing runs. And the thing is, I tell you, it's having a heart attack every 5 minutes. And it's not even processing query. It's not processing transactions, just processing votes. So it is kind of funny. But hey, I mean, like, this is a great case for building something better. So and it is open source, so everything's available, and I'm glad they actually kind of like have this lab that's running a real world chain, which is kind of cool, I think.
Do you think because I mean, we could talk all day. Okay, so two questions. One, these instabilities that you're noticing, and you're saying that most of the power is going to actually process these votes and not as much transactions and so on and so forth. Is that something that the core Solana community recognizes and understands? Because I'm not gonna lie, I was just at Breakpoint for a week, and this is the first time I'm hearing about this. It never came up in conversation or anything like that.
Well, that's the problem, actually, because I don't think enough people calling them out on this. And I think part of the reason is because there's so much money at stake, like $300 million. And they're really friendly guys. Like, I don't want to be hating on them. But if you look at Reddit, like if you just type in Solana votes Reddit, you can see this issue has been brought up twice. And Anatoly, the founder, answered one of the questions on Reddit, and he said that it's really not an issue because hardware will just save them. But like the other thing that's I think bothers me more than their tech is that they're trying to tell the world that they're running at 4,000 transactions per second, when 92% of their transactions are actually internal chain traffic, which has nothing to do with their with the real world transactions. So they're showing adoption, but like kind of sweeping it under the rug, and they're showing the votes on their chart as if their chain, I mean, according to the marketing material, can run at 65,000 transactions per second. The reality is their chain running at 150 transactions per second right now, and the rest of it is votes, which is not even supposed to be in the chart. But nobody wants to talk about it because, hey, I mean, if you bought Solana and it's pumping and you're holding a bag, why would you FUD it, right?
So I think one of the issues that it's been coming up more recently within people that I've been talking about is the centralization aspect. People typically go to, well, less than 2% of the supply was in the public sale. The rest is early contributors, VCs, so on and so forth. But I think that like the financial centralization or decentralization can get better over time as tokens get dispersed, so on and so forth. But I think the other side of it that doesn't get brought up as much is that the centralization aspect from most things being closed source on Solana as opposed to open source. Do you think that is overblown or underblown? Like, do you think enough people are talking about that aspect? What are your thoughts?
I looked at the repo. Everything looks open source to me.
Really? Well, most of the dApps, I would say a lot of the dApps, so on and so forth.
Well, that I can't comment about because I haven't looked at the dApps code. But looking at their engine, like I was digging in their Rust codes just a couple of days ago, and it's all open. So
Okay.
that's good.
Fair. All right, fair. All right, well, look, we got a bunch of hands up here. I'd like to give everybody an opportunity to ask some questions or throw their thoughts in. So let's keep it brief, concise, and to the point. I want to start with Chris. Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, it sounds like what you're working on is absolutely incredible, and to have that sort of speed and transaction cost is next level. My two questions to you. The first one, which I think you kind of answered already, but do you believe in like a multi-chain future? Do you think that all of these chains can coexist in harmony, and that people will kind of gravitate to what their personal preference is, or do you think that we'll reach a point in the next 10 to 15, maybe 20 years where there is only two chains that everyone kind of uses? So that's my first question. And then my second question is, when will Zen blocks be available to the public, or is it already? In other words, can I go onto a decentralized exchange or a centralized exchange and buy some for the next run?
So you can't buy it, but you can mint it. It's free to mint if you're willing to spend the time to learn how to do it. And I'll send you a DM on how to join the Telegram to get those answers. For your first question, I think we already have this feature, multi-chain feature, and you can kind of like test this question by asking yourself, will Bitcoin ever have smart contracts? I don't think it will. And also the next question is, will Bitcoin ever disappear? And I don't think it will, which actually means that we'll have categories of chains: the storage of value, which is Bitcoin, and then the Ethereum-like chains, which is like application smart programmable money type of thing. And then there's categories within the EVM world. Ethereum, I would say, is like this level 1 chain, where Polkadot and Cardano, they're level 2, or like next levels, like, so to speak. And then there's the hybrid chains, like I think Aptos, or actually not Aptos, Axelar. So Axelar is doing something special, which is like really, really cool. So they're trying to interconnect the chains. And so I think definitely we're going to have different chains, and it is a good idea to have them just because we want people to have a choice. So I definitely would enjoy having experience. And of course, like, I'm coming from Zen ethos, and Zen exists on all those chains. And I learned a bunch just by launching Zen like everywhere. And so I think like every chain has something special for the end users. And so I think some chains will die, for sure, and some chains will thrive. So, but we need that sort of competition to keep ourselves on our toes to do better. So I think it's good.
Awesome, mate. Thank you very much. Appreciate the time, and thank you for the follow. I really appreciate it.
Sure.
Thanks, Chris. All right, we're going to go over to Prey here. Prey, what's up?
Hey, what's up? Prey here. So I just want to throw some flowers and then ask you a question. I really appreciate the earnest, like, logic, honesty, like from someone that like really sees logic, and I respect that a lot. Just talking about what you like about Solana, what they could fix, et cetera, et cetera. So my question is, and not really necessarily to pin you against Solana, because I love Solana, but I'm not a maxi on any chain at all. What would necessarily what will kind of win in the end? Is it marketing or is it the technology? Is it how people are exposed to a blockchain, or is it the technology? Do you think will get people using a chain more?
So is this specifically about Solana or just any chain?
Just any chain at all.
So I think it's really a combination of things. And let me give you an example. So Anatoly from Solana is very charismatic. He's like really cool dude, laid back, and I really enjoyed his podcasts and streams. And like the other thing, like they raised all that money and they don't know what to do with it, and so they launched the phone just because they can. They have hacker houses like in every country, and when you go into a hacker house, it's like the Church of Solana. Like you get like shown like all the tech, and it's like it's so cool. So if you're like nerdy engineer at heart, it's like, you know, you can't pass that. Yeah, you'll love it just because like you're treated like somebody special. Not like you was treated in high school, for example. So it's really a combination of things, and I think that's what went really well for Solana. It's a really good marketing, something very new, different language, charismatic leader, and a lot of things that they did right in terms of like how to market the whole chain. Now, if we look at, for example, Avalanche, really smart guys. Like those two guys, I think one of them is Kevin, and the other one has like this weird name. He speaks with an accent. Both are PhDs in like cryptography. Uber smart, probably smarter than Solana guys. But anytime they go on a podcast, their microphone is terrible. You can't actually hear them. They do not care about delivering a message for Avalanche. They cannot promote the amazing project and product that Avalanche is. And it sucks. And I feel really bad that they just can't do that. And they literally say that how much they hate podcasting. So I wish they like hired some better people, or maybe like got another co-founder that could speak for them. And so like, and that's what really sucks for Avalanche is like the founders can deliver the message. And like the other thing, Avalanche is not one chain; it's like three chains. It's Avalanche C, and then there's like two more. Nobody understands their tokenomics, and they keep saying that anybody can launch their own virtual machines. But like, you know what? The end users don't care. They just want something that works. They want it to be reliable, inexpensive, fast, and has the value, so that you can actually like get into NFTs on, you know, AVAX or Avalanche, or do something else like launch your own project. But they don't have the marketing support. But everything else is great. Like the tech is amazing. It's actually better than Solana. So I think, like, to answer your question directly, it's really a combination of so many things. Like you have to get so many things done right, and a lot of things that you do get right, it just happens by accident, and you just amplify what you see that works. So I think what a lot of things that worked for Solana, they just amplified it and they did a good job with it.
Thanks for answering that. That was a great answer. Just one more thing, because I forgot to mention this. I've been in this space for almost 2 years. I consider myself a professional normie because I don't understand tech. I feel like I've learned more about blockchain technology just listening to you talk than I have in the past 2 years here.
Oh, thank you. That's really kind.
Go read some articles, Pry.
Thanks.
I have reading comprehension issues, jerk.
Well, no, and look, Jack, that's why I always love having you up here, just because I know you have a lot to share and a lot of stuff that I just don't have a really good grasp on. I learned a lot listening to you speak as well. I want to throw it quickly over to, I know we're skipping hands a bit, but I gotta go to FUD. FUD, I mean, talk to me. What's going on? Solana's apparently going down every 3 seconds.
I'm getting mad listening to this because the one-sided, like, it's just the most one-sided opinion. Like, there's some facts in there buried with 100% opinion, saying that these AVAX creators are smarter than Solana creators, saying all they did was market well, but they actually don't know what to do with the money, so they just randomly created a phone. It's just like, where do you get off talking down on these men who have created something that is 1000x the price of Zen?
Dude, I have an opinion. I expressed it. I guess you have to deal with it.
I don't want to deal with it. I want to argue about it.
Okay, well, I'm not gonna argue with it. So, it's my personal take. You can't argue a personal take. You can ask me like a question, like something that is not compares valuation, because comparing valuation is ridiculous. So ask me something about Solana and tell me something that isn't true, what I just said. I mean, like, of course, you could argue that, yeah.
Hang on, you're being a little too serious. So I do have a genuine question that, if that's what you want. So I was just kidding for the most part. Let me ask you this. You said something that I had never heard before. You said they're marketing it, that they're doing 4,000 transactions per second, but they're actually doing 150 and they're using the same ones over and over. Can you kind of delve into that a little more of what that means?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So if you go to SoulScan, like you can go right now, Google SoulScan, just get on the first page. Look at their chart. Their chart actually does not lie. It says that most of the transactions that they're marketing as transactions are votes. They're actually labeled as votes. And then you look at the real transactions, you can see that they're like barely like 300 or something. But then if you actually click in on the smart contract, they call it a token program. It's a program that deals with the trading part. If you click there, you will see that 70% of all of the transactions that hit that program, which they call, like, is in their language, it's a smart contract, 70% are failing. Only 30% are successful. So why would the chain actually show all of those failing transactions for something that is as simple as a token program where people just trading tokens? The reality of the situation is that the Solana's transactions are so inexpensive that a lot of traders are actually not traders. They're bots, basically programs that are trying to front run each other, and they send underpriced transactions with a hope that they will get executed and front run everyone else. And of course, most of those transactions fail, like 60 or 70% of them fail, and Solana reports them as failures. So even the 300 transactions that are not votes, 60 or 70% of them are actually going into the failing pool. And they call it normal, which is actually fine. Okay, fine, it is normal, but nobody's talking about it, that the bots, the programs that are taking advantage of really, 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 really low fees are trying to front run everyone else who are human, and of course they're failing because they're looking for corner cases, and they're basically kind of like mev bots. They're trying to extract value between your trades. So you can see it all on SoulScan. It's like not hidden. You just can click on the chart. You can go into their smart contracts, look at the failing transactions, and it's pretty incredible. And I'm not saying that they're intellectually dishonest, but they're not really talking about it. Like they talk about Fire Dancer and how Fire Dancer is awesome, which I don't think it is, but they're not talking about this issue with unstable chain, 90% or 92% of transactions being votes, and 70% of real transactions being failures. So like, why people don't look at it, I actually don't know, but I think it's psychological.
Can I ask you a
Yeah.
follow-up question? Because I fail to see why that's something negative if these bots are running and they're failing the transactions because they're trying to undercut. What would be the reason of talking about that? What does it
Okay.
slow
Well,
down the network, or what do you mean by
well,
that?
of course, it slows down the network because the network has to deal with the junk transactions that are not ever meant to succeed, and because they have very low fees, those bots have no cost to exist. So like they're basically saying we're gonna spam the chain to hell, and nobody's gonna stop us because it is so cheap, and we don't care about failing. Now that's one problem. That's just basically making chain worse for everyone else. The other problem is because it's showing up as an aggregate counter of all transactions on the chain, it makes the chain look like it's very popular. But in reality, 92% are votes, and the other 70% of real chains of that 8% is actually failures. So what is the true measure of a transaction within Solana, and how do you compare it with the other chains? It's actually a very interesting question. So like the problem again is the marketing. Like you look at the chart and you're like, holy shit, the chain must be fast. Except if you dig deeper, I guess it's full of junk.
All right, so what do we do now, Bud? What?
Yeah, so I guess that's those are I've never heard this, and so he's got good points, right, Leap? Like nobody's talking about it, especially if I've been smashing Solana and using it, pretty often for the last, I would say almost at least daily for the last 2.5 years. So I'm just kind of curious as to how it would be. This it feels like a conversation that would need to be talked about with people who know more about Solana and are bullish on it, so that they can discuss opinions. I'm just not smart enough to hang with this dude for his opinion. I'm just not. Like I didn't even know about this stuff, and I've never known about any of this. All I've ever known is ETH has a lot of gas fees, and then when like 100 people use it, you're having to pay a lot of gas fees. And then I knew that Solana was fast and there was low fees, and so that's it. Like that's all people talk about. When you actually delve into this stuff and you have to learn about it, what are you supposed to do? There's probably 100 people that could have this intellectual conversation. Why aren't they here, Lee?
Well, I don't know that many smart people. I know a few, but no, I mean, like, to be honest, there are people who know about this, and I think that a lot of people in Solana are part of the community. They are pretty honest about these being issues, but like, I mean, it's exactly what you said, Fudd. People grasp to the things that are easy to understand, and the narrative that Ethereum is expensive, which it is, and Ethereum is slow, which it also is, and Solana is neither of those things. Yeah, I mean, that's a very easy thing for people to understand, and it's something easy to get behind. Because, dude, I was like, just now I bought a shitcoin because I'm just, I'm having some fun, right? It's a Sunday night.
Was it Hex?
You said what?
What was it, Hex?
You can't even buy Hex right now. You have to mine it. Haven't you been listening? But I bought this fucking shitcoin. I think I spent $18 to buy it, and I got sandwiched by an MEV bot. Like, that is not a fun experience. Where like if you're on Solana, it's going to cost you like a couple cents. So, I mean, I definitely.
Yeah, that's the problem, actually, because Ethereum is so slow. It gives ample opportunity for MEV bots to take you out. To take your money. Basically, it sucks, and that's like one of the problems. Like, people ask me, like, why do you care about speed so much? Well, actually, a chain that's fast gives less of a chance to the bots actually to take over your transaction and front run you. That's one thing, and the other thing, obviously, is fees. So I think chains should be fast. So that's why, like, I actually like what Solana has done. They have done an incredible job being so inexpensive, and the tech is like written from scratch. It's awesome, but I think they have problems, and I think they really should be more forward with what's going on inside the chain.
Okay, wait. So here's a quick question for you then. What's the biggest problem that you face? Like, if you're talking about Solana has problems, ETH has problems, every chain has problems, obviously. What are the biggest problems that you're trying to overcome right now?
Well, I mean, I'm starting from zero. I'm a nobody, and I have nothing, and I have no money. I'm not going to raise any money. So I don't have the marketing budget to have hacker houses, like nothing like that. So that's my challenge.
What's your apprehension to doing a raise? Just because it's less centralized?
It's ideologic. I just don't want to raise and have tokens sold to the VCs that will eventually sell it, on the community. It's just like not why I'm on crypto. So I just don't like it.
Well, look, if there's 500 people in this room, if we all put in $10, maybe we could contribute to the cause. Well, look, I'll throw it over to Jake here. Jake, what's up?
Yeah, I had a question to Jack about Avalanche that you mentioned earlier. So Avalanche is obviously on less, and I think one of the things when I was researching it that I noticed that was different than Solana is that on Solana you have the validators that are trying to rush each other to validate the transaction, right? Whereas on Avalanche, it's a group of validators that have to validate each transaction. I might be wrong about that, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. Um, what did you mentioned that Avalanche has better tech than Solana? Can you dig into that? And
Yeah,
also,
yeah.
I want to be in your Telegram, so DM me.
Hold on, let me get your name real quick. Who is speaking? Like I haven't been looking at my screen.
Jake.
Okay, Jake. Yeah. Just follow me. I'll follow you back, and then we'll DM. Again, not to take too much time, Solana's validators have to talk to every other validator, and there's thousands of them. So it causes a lot of the load on the network that eventually causes their instability. With Avalanche consensus, they have this thing that they call probabilistic consensus, meaning that they have this gossip protocol that allows their nodes to create consensus within the node neighborhood without actually needing to talk to the rest of the nodes. And those neighborhoods, they border. So like the border between neighborhoods will have other nodes that actually will propagate the messages and create consensus like a wave. That's why they call it avalanche. Like imagine like a snowball that's just getting bigger, bigger, and bigger, and it becomes an avalanche, and then everybody have the same consensus. So that algorithm is better because it's not ON squared. It's actually just ON or even O1 in some cases. And when I say that, I actually mean that nodes only have to talk to their neighbors, which is like 10 of them, and it's not thousands of them that are talking to each other. And so that is the biggest difference. So the avalanche is like this wave of consensus messages that are not hitting every node, but it carries the momentum of the selection of what the truth is on chain. So that's why I feel avalanche technology is superior.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Jake. Tommy, what's up?
Wow, man, this space has blown up to the best proportion possible. Thank you, Jack, for a lot of your insight and everything that you've been bringing to the table. Like, I don't know what he said his name was, but he logical and just giving facts and points. I'm really enjoying this space, 100%. But as far as everyone in the space, are we fucking back or what? Here we go, guys. Let's go. Love you guys. But real talk, I'm definitely getting that telegram from you, Jack. That is a must have. And then I was bullish, still bullish. But what's the take on against ponytails, man, or man buns? You don't like those things, or should I cut mine off, or what's going on?
No. Here's the thing. I was super busy. I was driving my daughter to lifeguard class, and I was gonna listen about that chain, Sui, and the dude came on the screen, and then like I got super distracted. So the only thing I remember from that conversation, the like 3-second video, was his man bun. And now I know him as a man with the dude with the man bun, and so I'm sure I'm gonna find him again and listen more. I just didn't have time, so that's the only thing that I remember.
All right, are we fudding with man buns now? Is this what we're at?
Dude, I love you, Lee. Keep up the good work.
There's just stuck on man buns.
Do we have proof of man bun? Is that a new consent?
Hell no.
Hey, if you make NFT, I'll mint one.
Of the.
Hey, if I get that digital history of Jack minting my man bun, that is like epic. That's like we're booming.
What do you think about Jack? What do you think about and I don't want to just like keep asking you questions, but what do you think about like ordinals and inscriptions and things like that?
I love them. I think it's great. I mean, here's the thing. The one reason why I love them is because the laser eye maxis on Bitcoin are in shambles. They're losing their shit. And that is one of the reasons to love ordinals.
I
The
love that shit.
the other reason to love ordinals and the BRC20s is that for the first time you can actually trade your satoshis for some other shitcoin that you couldn't otherwise do on Bitcoin chain, right? And that's like super special because now there's like 3 or 4 different open source wallets that allow you to do DeFi within Bitcoin infrastructure than you couldn't have done other before. So that was like the driver. But yeah, like those 2 things. I love them.
All right, what do you think about Shiba Inu's new L2 Shibarium? Is that the future?
I think it should be renamed to Shiterium because it's shit.
Do you think? What I like? They have I feel like they have so much money. I have no idea what they're doing.
Dude, it's like a gang. We should like delete what I just said because they're probably coming for me.
All right, good.
I was gonna say the same thing, Jack. You're about to be dead, dude.
They're gonna come for you. Okay, I'm trying to think. What else? What else is out there that? Okay, what about like Polygon? Like I know, like we talked about ETH and being like more L2 centric, things like that. How do you feel about Polygon?
So I like Polygon, and I played with their code. I actually ran Polygon like personal testnet for a while. It's not very good in terms of the actual code. The code is kind of crappy, and it's very unstable. It feels unfinished. They had a lot of issues with our RPC servers. For the launch Zen on Polygon, it killed the RPC servers. Like nobody could use Polygon for like a day, which is ridiculous. It's supposed to be a fast chain. Other than that, I think their bridge really sucks. Like Plasma Bridge is terrible. Takes like half an hour to move money in and move money out. But hey, it's actually better than Arbitrum and Optimism because it takes 7 days to get your money out. So
Jesus.
that's why L2s are not. Well, Jack, what do you think about people using like SVMs as L2? Like SVM as an L2 on ETH?
SVM, what's that? Solana virtual machine?
Yeah.
So, well, it carries the same problem. It has to settle on. It's like a conversation about Lightning and Bitcoin. Like, is Lightning good? Well, it still needs to settle on Bitcoin, and it's still like, ultimately cause you to be segregated within a centralized zone. Like somebody has to run that layer 2. Like layer 2's problem is not their tech, but the fact that they can censor you. And like I hate chains that have admin keys and have the power to censor their users. I think that's not what crypto was invented to be. So, but that's again, it's ideology. But like that's how I feel.
Okay, Fudd, what do you think?
Hey Jack, I liked how you started by saying you liked Polygon, and then the next 8 things you said was just saying everything that was wrong with Polygon and just destroyed it, and why nobody should like it at all. I liked that a lot. That was phenomenal. So I did have a question. I was a little late, so I apologize, Leap.
Sure.
I was looking up Zen. Or Zen. Sorry, I don't know how to say it yet.
It's Zen, Zen like with a Z, but like replace X with a Z in your mind and just say Zen.
Got it. So it sounds like you're the creator of it, and you said something. You said you put it on Polygon. You ran it on Polygon. I don't even know what that means and how that's possible. So I was wondering if you could shill that and kind of explain it better.
Don't really want to shill Zen because I shilled Zen for like the whole year. But anyway, it's a free token that you mint with gas, so it doesn't take your money except gas. So when it was launched, everybody went nuts and just queued in the transactions, just trying to mint. It's kind of like a combination of an NFT and an ERC20. So you mint early ranks, and it's kind of like your flair, like I have this early C rank, I'm cool type of thing. So a lot of people wanted the early ones, and what happened is it didn't just drive gas in Polygon, it caused their RPC servers to crash because they were never optimized for the load of transactions that came to mint Zen, essentially. So that's the issue. But anyway, Zen is like this protocol that allows you to mint your tokens with gas, and it has declining rate of emissions. Like every year there's like a reduction in how much will be released in a year, and it's all immutable. Like I don't control it. It's 400 lines of code, and there's like a lot of DeFi stuff plugged into it. So anyway, people are super excited about it. I think Zen is very similar to Bitcoin ethos in a way that how you're minting it with time and gas as if you were a miner of Bitcoin. So a lot of people dig that. And that's why, like, when we launch on different chains, people just move to those chains and take it over. If you go to Phantom and like look at the top tokens, actually any chain that's EVM that you know of, go to top tokens, statistics, stats, Zen will be like in top 3. So we're next to stable coins. And I think we're number 4 on Ethereum, but we're like number 1 everywhere else.
So I just want to also have a disclaimer. I don't have any of the Zen tokens, or I haven't mined. I probably will, just to be completely forefront, just because why not? But I don't have any currently. I think it's really interesting. And when I talked to Jack about this like a couple weeks ago, before Breakpoint, and he was telling me about this like hybrid proof of stake, proof of work. I'm like, all right, you got to come up on the space and talk about this because it's just interesting. And I think that we focus so heavily, especially in this space, on like PFPs and the NFT side and this, and it's kind of, we don't talk as much about this sort of stuff. So I felt like it was a good change of pace, and also not organized at all. I just saw Jack in the audience and invited him up. So.
Yeah, I didn't even like know that you were gonna have space. I just like accidentally loaded Twitter.
So I was out of topics. I'll be honest with you. Like you can't the right exact time. Well, look, I want to throw it to. We got someone who hasn't spoken yet, so I'm gonna have to give them priority here. I want to go to Chris. Chris, have not spoken to you before. Good to have you up on the stage. I mean, what do you think about everything?
Hey guys, good morning. Yeah, I heard the laser-eyed maxis and the ordinals comment, and I thought I'd pop up and have some banter. I like the ability for communities to civilly debate and discuss with each other rather than the infighting that we see a lot of. Yeah, I just thought I'd come and say hi, really, and chime in where appropriate. So first of all, nice to meet you too. But thanks for having me up. A lot of people won't even have me up because they see the Bitcoin logo and they think I'm going to be one of the toxic maxis. I've got kids screaming around me as well, so apologies. I might have to mute occasionally. But yeah, no, all good. I'm just listening. I mean, my use case is store of value. And so I think that Bitcoin has the best properties for that. But if people want to, sorry, one sec.
Look, I would say that I welcome the Bitcoin laser eye maxis, the seething maxis as they're called in some places of the Web3.
Outside this door, and you can hear me talking. Can't you shut the door?
Oh, okay.
Sorry about that.
No,
hang on. He doesn't owe anybody an apology. Kids are the worst.
Oh, mate, honestly, you
Kids
wouldn't believe it.
Man.
They can hear me talking as well. They know, like, basically I'm on the phone and they're like, yeah, now I'm going to choose to scream right next to you.
Yeah, I'm surprised there wasn't any, like, drop kicks or anything. That's what I would have been doing. So you were super patient with them, man. Respect.
Yeah, I put it on mute. You didn't hear me. Yeah, no, I like store of value, but I think everyone should have the right to do whatever they want with their money, right? And if people see value in something, they should have the right to buy it and engage in it. I think it's speculative, but that's just my opinion, and I respect everybody's right to freedom. So that's kind of where I sit with it. I'm sure we'll have some debate as we go.
Thanks, Chris. And by the way, if you know any seething, insufferable laser eye maxis, please DM them and get them in. I will have a referral link. 0.01 Zen for every laser eye max. I don't even know what that's worth. I don't even think you can.
I mean, I know loads of them. Am I not toxic enough for you? Am I too nice? Fair enough.
Up here that's gonna yell at me, make me cry, and feel bad about myself, because a lot of the laser eye maxis I remember we did this one debate. This is the only time that Casey Rodomar ever came on our stage, and he didn't even address anybody on the stage. He like came up, had a full one-on-one conversation with this other person, and then just left. And, like, it was completely unrelated to anything, but we were like starstruck that he was here because it was very early ordinals days. But we had this whole debate, and it was like ETH versus Bitcoin, and at that time that was like the very clickbaity thing to do. You could just say like ordinal, like laser iMaxis suck, and you have 1,000 people in the space. But they would, yeah, dude, they would come up here and you guys don't know anything about your monkey JPEGs. All you do is trade the monkey JPEGs. This is the favorite to go to, and yeah, we never actually got any good debates out of it. So if you know any toxic laser iMaxis, please send them.
So
Yeah, I mean, I think I can probably position myself as someone who can articulate how a lot of the Bitcoin community feels. I think what you're talking about is the extreme end, but I think most Bitcoiners that are kind of Bitcoin only, if you like, would say that ordinals is allowed because it passed by consensus to have that functionality on the chain. My personal view is I don't like it because I think Bitcoin should be very focused on being the money and the store of value in the base layer, rather than having all the other features and functionality that can exist elsewhere. But I also respect people's right because it's there and it can be done. I respect people's right to do it. So I kind of don't feel massively strong about it. I just think that we should be very careful in the Bitcoin community about what we allow to happen to the base layer and not have massive changes, because there are people using it as a store of value rather than for other purposes.
Fair. I think that's fair. Chris, I'll throw it over to you. What's up?
I wanted to ask Jack, and actually maybe you as well, Leap, what are your thoughts on Cardano? Because I feel like no one's actually even talking about it. And I know that they have kind of got NFTs going on there, but there's not really in the same sort of hype or retention as Solana or ETH has had. So what do you think about Cardano?
There's not much to think about. Their contracts don't work very well. They tried to launch smart contracts and they don't execute. Like they have issues. So they're working on this thing called Hydra, which is a layer 2 solution, which is kind of like basically what Ethereum tried to do. They call it some sort of like asymmetric channel or asymmetric channels or something. And what it is really is it's a segregation of execution layer away from the Cardano base layer. And I think they have plenty of work to do. I mean, like, I like all technology. And I do like Charles when he's like being ideological about like why he's in the space. I just don't like when he's acting butthurt, because every time like something happens with Ethereum, he's like, oh, look at Ethereum, we have done it a year ago or 2 years ago. Like he's always dunking on Vitalik, and he's just appearing immature and like butthurt. Like, and I know why. Like obviously, he's been in Ethereum from like early days, and he got fired or something. And yeah, but anyway, so like I like him. I don't like him being butthurt. I think Cardano is not ready for prime time. So that's my take.
Thanks for that. Yeah, I definitely agree. Leap, you go ahead.
No, please go ahead, Chris.
I just wanted to say I completely agree. I mean, personally, in my opinion, the top 3 chains going into the next bull run will be Bitcoin, ETH, and Solana. Obviously, there's going to be tons of other ones that are going to make monumentous gains, but those are going to be the 3 big ones. And I think if you look at Bitcoin dominance pairs, Solana and ETH are the only ones that have really kind of held up okay. Obviously, Solana last year performed really badly after the whole FTX thing, but this year, Solana's held up really well, just in terms of price action and stuff. So I think going into the next bull run, those are going to be the kind of big 3.
Can I just very quickly say, like, I can't speak to the tech. I do know the coding kind of off according to devs. But I will say the Cardano NFT ecosystem is a lot more active than we think. I think we're all in our we're all in like chambers sometimes, and we're not able to see like what's going on in different ecosystems. And I've been talking to a lot of Cardano people recently, and they do have some, they have volume, and like I think the top collection, those apes, I forget what they're called, it's over in ETH, which is pretty impressive. So I don't know. I wouldn't count them out, but I definitely agree with your thesis.
Yeah, well, I'm not counting them out. I think NFTs will actually save them. So we should all pay attention to what's happening with the NFT space on Cardano.
What about Jack? What about I know you're like a massive fan and proprietor of Hex Chain and Richard Hart or Pulse Chain. What do you think? It's a joke. It's a joke. What do you think about Pulse Chain? I keep getting comments and people keep DMing me. Ask Jack about Pulse Chain, Richard Hart.
Oh, dude! Anytime I open my mouth about Richard, his followers, they absolutely tear me apart. They make videos. They make memes out of me. It's incredible, and I love it. I love it. So anyway, Richard's in hiding. He's been sued by SEC. It's pretty terrible, actually, that happened. I think it's terrible for the community. I think his whole outreach marketing, wearing Prada and Gucci and talking about his PP all day, did not serve him or the community well. It did not serve Hex. Things could have been better, but it is what it is. Now, the question was about Pulse Chain. Pulse Chain is kind of like a poor copy of Ethereum, but hey, it works. A lot of people and a lot of my friends are on Pulse Chain, and it actually is functional. I think their Explorer is terrible. Like, you can't sync your transactions with Explorer, so like you can't even like see that stuff happened. Sometimes your transactions get stuck for like 24 hours. You don't know why. MetaMask will not tell you. There's a lot of scams going on Pulse Chain. Like, it's like if you were in Bay Area in California, it's like Oakland, drive-by shootings and like people are getting raped constantly. So like that's Pulse Chain. But hey, a lot of people like that stuff, and it's kind of interesting. There's also NFTs there too. So I think it's functional. I think it's much worse than Ethereum. Richard keeps talking about how fees are like really, really low, but he hasn't done anything to lower the fees. He copied Ethereum, like literally. Even the Ethereum state was copied. Nothing technologically was improved with the fees. The only reason why the fees are lower is because not that many people use the chain. So that's like the tech. Now, the issue with him like owning 80 or 90% of Pulse is like screams centralization, like beyond anything that we actually see. We look at those pie charts of the chains. Well, his is like 90% belongs to him, so he can turn off validators, change the code, do anything, because it's an Ethereum 2 copy, so all of those functions are present. So basically, it's a chain that's supposed to be like a blockchain, decentralized, yet it's not. Supposed to be censor resistant, yet it's not, because he has so much Pulse. And so like, I think the hypocrisy is that most of his videos, he talks about how he loves being decentralized and how everything should be censorship resistant. Yet he has the biggest admin key to his chain. So I think it's very hypocritical. I personally don't like it, but hey, if it works for people and they don't care, who am I to judge?
All right, well, we have like 6 different Hex people requesting up right now. So give me a moment here to reorganize. In the meantime, before this turns out into an all-out brawl,
Are you serious?
there's a bunch of them requesting.
Holy shit!
This is about so the official term for the Hex community, and by the way, I mean, no, this is actually the name that they call themselves, is the Hexicans. That is literally the actual name that the Hex community has given to themselves, which, you know what I mean, like could be other things. Okay, I want to throw it quickly over to to Tommy here. Tommy, what's up?
Hey guys, it's getting late for me. I appreciate everything Jack and everyone's been saying here, but I really am curious, guys, what your take is on social fi and like the whole tokenizing people's clout and XYZ there.
You mean like friend tech?
Yeah, there's like Bitcoin City, friend tech. I mean, is that something that's dead or it's not really working or?
I haven't looked into it in a while. I have to check it out. Well, when I first started using it, I got like 4 ETH like instantly, so can't complain.
I definitely would buy 10 ETH of Jack for sure. Definitely.
Well, you can get access to him right here on the space. Well, I want to throw a quick. I know we're skipping here, but I just have to do it. I want to throw it to Hex Agent. Hex Agent. I mean, talk to me. What's going on here?
Hey, first up, I want to actually throw some respect at Jack because a lot of people will dunk on people's blockchains without actually running the validators without doing that. So that's actually really good that he has actually taken the time and effort to run validators, experience the chains, and have intelligent criticisms of those chains. It's quite rare in the space, as you guys have probably noticed, and so I do really respect that. I have absolutely enjoyed him dunking on all of these chains, and really I just came up to say one thing about Pulse Chain that I believe is incorrect, is that Richard binned all his validating nodes, and that was early on. So he claims that the devs shut down all the validators that were being run to bootstrap the network, basically to get it running until it could be decentralized and run by others. Now, you could argue, so one argument could be made to say, with any proof of stake chain, someone who has a high percentage of the supply has sort of pseudo admin keys. So that could be made as an accusation if you even assume that Richard has a high supply, which we don't know for sure, by the way. But so that could be one sort of argumentative vector that you could use. However, what I just wanted to clarify that he doesn't actually currently run enough validators to be controlling the network.
Jack, if you want to respond to that.
Yeah. Hey, Tangent. Good to hear from you. I think Tangent and I, we go back almost a year ago. We had the amazing stream about Zen and Hex and everything else. So good to hear from you. Yeah, I mean, I heard the news that he shut off his validators. The thing is that he can start them up and he has all the pulse. So he can bring them up within an hour and take over the chain if he wanted to. So that's the answer.
Okay, sure. Yeah. Yep. If so, I guess, yeah. Then the question becomes, does he actually have the supply? Because we don't know for sure, because it's pseudo-anonymous. But fair point. I think that's clarified now. Is everyone on the same page with that?
Yes.
Okay, so clarified that Richard Hart could turn off the chain at any moment.
No. That he could. That theoretically, someone, if they have a high enough amount of the supply, to flood any proof of stake network, not just Pulse Chain, with controlling nodes, with validating nodes, that then you could theoretically control the network.
So we know Ethereum cannot do it. We know Polygon can do it because that's the way that their whole thing is set up. We know Binance can for sure do it. So hey, I mean, why can't Richard do it? So it's kind of not even anything out of the ordinary.
Hold up, we have more hexagons requesting up right now. Just give me a moment here. Go ahead, Tangent. Am I pronouncing that? Is it Tangent? Yes.
Yeah. Yep. Tangent. Yeah. That's all really. I just wanted to make that clarification.
It's Hex Tangent.
Hex Tangent. Well, Hex Tangent, I gave you a follow. I appreciate you coming up here. And by the way,
cheers, man.
the intention is, I actually have some friends in the Hex community, and I've had a lot of people from that community be really kind to me. So the intention isn't to dunk on the community. You know what I mean? Like, we can talk about this objectively. I think we've been dunking on almost every single chain here for the past 2 hours. So Hex is just,
Yeah, I've been loving it, man. It's been great. It's seriously greatest space recently.
we went from Solana to Cardano. We talked about fucking Sui and Aptos and Chia and Algorand, even though none of us know anything about Algorand.
Well, Sui got off easy. He's the guy with the man bun.
Oh yeah, Sui got off, but apparently AVAX has the worst microphones, and they don't know how to use microphones. So and no one is not catching us straight here. I do want to throw it quickly over to Katie. Katie, your bio says Pulse Chain girl attracted to real DeFi. Katie, what do you think about this whole Hex chain conversation?
Hey, Leap. Look, I just think the conversation is valid, right? But it goes to every single proof of stake network that exists, because realistically, like, there's an entity on every single chain that can take over majority supply of the consensus, right? So like, if you look at Ethereum, for instance, right now, Lido is up to like 33% of the stake on ETH, right? And they're not capping their service. So there's nothing stating that Lido can't go do something malicious towards the chain. Like, in most proof of stake consensus networks, you are reliant on whales, right? It's like they all have a level of trust factor. It's like saying that nobody is ever going to act out of bad faith to a chain that they hold most of the supply, right? Or that they're going to move out of bad faith if they have so X amount of money invested into that chain. Like, if you constantly want to sit there and think that everybody is just going to do the wrong thing, then you have to look at every single proof of stake consensus. Right? It's like, why do chains get rolled back?
Fair point. That's why, like, I said that Polygon and Binance and probably like 10 other chains can be rolled back and stopped and whatever by a central controlling entity. So it's not even like uncommon. I mean, it sucks because I'm here for censorship resistance and decentralization, but it is the world we live in, and I think more people should talk about it. So that's why we're talking about it.
Yeah, I get that. But I mean, like, there's a difference between rolling back the chain and like putting up false data to the chain, right? So if you take over 51%, you can like do malicious things and put through things that are false, right, through the network, because you own most of it. But like, to roll back a chain, it's just if you look at Binance, for instance, I just think there's a little bit more to that than what you're saying, though.
Well, I have no idea what exactly happened to Binance and what they did with the chain, whatever, rollback or not. But I mean, like, there's always exists a possibility of people doing unsavory things, and I think crypto was meant to solve it. I think we should all collectively resist the mediocrity of money grabs and just like really focus on first principles. That's my take.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. But like, for Binance to be rolled back, all the nodes in the network have to come to a consensus agreement. So like, when you've seen him roll back the chain, like, there was a delay period where he had to jump on the phone to all of his buddies to roll back the network, right? Because the validators, top 33 or 28, or however many it was, I don't remember off the top of my head, it's really irrelevant to me. But they all had to come to the consensus agreement to roll the chain back to a certain block height.
Yeah, but they're all in the same Telegram channel, so it's
yeah, but like, that's what I mean. They had to come to that consensus agreement.
They had very strong. They have very strong social consensus, which is like, actually, believe it or not, social consensus is like one of the things that connects us all humans together. We give value to money because of social consensus. This paper money or electronic money, we all agree that it's worth something. It's not the technology that makes things decentralized. It is an agreement that could be enforced by technology, but ultimately everything is done through social consensus. Like, you would think Bitcoin is completely immutable. It is actually not the case. The Bitcoin core team can release changes and ask the miners and the full nodes to switch over to the new version. And people will do it because they love Bitcoin and they believe in the team. So that's social consensus at play. It doesn't mean that Bitcoin is completely and totally immutable. Vitalik has been changing Ethereum because we love Vitalik, right? Again, we're in the club. We love Ethereum. So that's social consensus. So I think there's no silver bullet, and we cannot say that we are giving our will to technology and the technology rules our lives. What we are, however, giving ourselves is ability to execute our will in an environment that helps fostering agreement among the humans in a fair way, without necessarily front running or lying. So that's why crypto technology is great.
That was an awesome statement. I really like that one.
Thanks, Katie. Thanks, Jack. Go ahead, Fudd, and then I want to jump over to Juice right after. Yeah, I'm speechless as well. Juice.
Hang on. I didn't know I was unmuted. I literally did what Chris did earlier. I'm embarrassed.
Oh, man. Chris, you're teaching them.
At least I wasn't beating my kids like Chris. So.
Whoa! Okay, hold on. All right, we're going over to Juice. Juice, you DIB, you said, I want to come up on stage. I got a lot to say about Hex and Pulse and all this stuff. What's going on?
Hey, first of all, good morning from Greece. It's like 11 a.m. from here.
I just got back from Greece 2 days ago, so shout out to you.
You for real?
Yeah.
What place have you been in?
I just was in Athens. I was in Athens for a week.
Okay. Yeah, so I want to clarify that, well, first I want to say hello to everybody and thanks for letting me join the space. I want to clarify that I'm the stupid guy in the room. I'm not a blockchain technical kind of guy. The only thing that I have to say about Hex and Pulse Chain and Richard is simple, stupid observations with my humble little mind. Why, excuse me for my language, but why the fuck would I trust a guy that flexes high-end designer clothing, watches, etc., to his own community and to his fathers, let's say? Why would I trust this founder? Give me one reason to trust this founder.
Nobody is asking you to trust anybody or even buy anything. So I don't know what kind of question
that I'm asking is basically an answer about people's thoughts on Pulse Chain or the founder, Richard. No, I don't trust the guy. That's my point. I don't trust the guy. I don't trust these kind of people.
So this is a personal opinion, and somebody's really good looking, somebody's really ugly, and somebody misbehaves. I don't think we should be judging people on internet. We're here to talk about cool shit, not about people's personality.
That was just my my personal thought on the Pulse Chain and the Hex founder. And I got a question for you, Cypherius. Sorry, I just followed you, by the way. Didn't know you before this space. I wanted your thoughts and input on the hype around the Injective token and the Fetch AI token. What are your thoughts on those two?
Fetch AI, the AI, basically AI ecosystem. Well, I actually had it for a while. It got me some good gains. I think actually it doesn't matter what it does. AI has such a strong momentum right now that anybody gets into anything that's AI related in crypto probably will do well. So that's my take on it.
What about Injective?
What about what?
Injective token.
Dude, all AI tokens are hot and gonna continue to be hot. It's like solar stocks in 2021. Those stocks went up.
Solar, by the way. So yeah, basically the question behind that is, do you think that it actually has real value behind backing those tokens, or is it just tokens made out of this AI bubble that came up in 2022?
So I think standard crypto disclaimer comes up. I mean, in crypto, pretty much everything is a meme. A lot of crypto projects run as if they're companies. If Fetch is kind of like a security and they have products that they're tying into their token, I'm like, hey, it is on the markets. You can play with it. You can make shitload of money. I'm not sure what's gonna happen, but like if you look at their chart looks awesome. Volume like 6x. They went from let's see, so like Wednesday 18th was their low point. So they went from like 20 cents to almost 45. So yeah, I mean, like very, very strong move, and especially the volume looks great. 1 year chart obviously looks amazing. It's like 573%. So yeah, I mean, like,
But
hey, I mean,
what I'm asking is to anyone in the space speaking right now, has anyone researched the actual value backing up the tokens? Is there any actual value behind the tokens that is remarkable?
I don't think anybody can answer that question.
Wow. Okay.
About any token, actually. I mean, like, what's so remarkable about Bitcoin? Like, governments around the world, they hate it, right? And
well,
and
I'm not the biggest lover about governments, brother. I am a blockchain maxi. I'm not a certain maxi.
I understand, but the point is that, like, this question you're asking, there's no answer. It is impossible to answer.
Got you.
I think it's only impossible to answer if you don't actually see a value proposition. I think it's all about value propositions, right? So like Bitcoin has a value proposition. A lot of the coins that you guys are talking about, there's a short-term opportunity for number go up, which is its value proposition. They don't have any real world utility, and they're not solving it.
Sorry for cutting you off, Chris. That's my name as well. It's Chris. But that was my question. If they have real value.
So it's impossible to answer because there is no value proposition other than number go up, which Jack has obviously articulated, which means, you can gamble and you can make money on them. But you can also lose, and most people do lose over time. Whereas with Bitcoin, that's not the case. So I don't think it's fair to say that Bitcoin has the same value proposition as these coins that you're talking about.
Now, the reason I'm asking is not to gamble. I'm not here to gamble. I'm here to long-term invest in those tokens, because a lot of people that I know in my circle are very bullish on them, and they're not bullish on them because of the gamble, as you say. It's because the team that are backing them and their value proposition. But I'm trying to learn more about their value proposition, because, like I said, I'm not the biggest blockchain tech kind of guy.
But the whole point of crypto, though, is decentralization, right? That's kind of why. So if you're saying that they're backing the team, for me that's an immediate red flag, because for me that this is for me that goes against what I think crypto should be, which is decentralized. So that takes away that argument, and then you go and the value proposition. Well, what is that? I've never heard a good value proposition for these coins. If someone could articulate them, and Jack just said that he couldn't.
Yeah, if somebody has answers to this, I would really appreciate any answers.
But I can definitely articulate a value proposition for Bitcoin. So
I know. I'm with you on this one.
So, well, I want to throw it to some of these hands here. We got to go to Corey. Corey, appreciate the patience. What's going on?
Hey, Leap. Thanks. A couple things here. Thanks for inviting me up. There is a value for non-fungible tokens outside of the art space. It's actually anti-counterfeit, really the auditability. And there are technologies where literally at a nano level you can scan, say, a Ferrari part or a bottle of wine and really understand and ensure that it's authentic and came from the right region, from the right manufacturer. So there are reasons why. At the end of the day, it's all about the ledger, right? And the immutability, the range of immutability of a ledger. And so that's just one example. There's actually some really good things around collateralization and efficiencies around that with real world assets. Again, whether centralized, decentralized, separate subject. My whole point is there are actually uses of the blockchain technology at various levels, whether in more of a permission environment or in a non-permission environment, in a public blockchain, like you said. So, Jack, I had a question.
Corey, just on that, you're saying centralized and decentralized is a separate conversation, but if you have a centralized blockchain where someone can make changes to the blockchain, you may as well use the database. So it invalidates the argument for blockchain if it's centralized and mutable.
The reason why I state that, and we can have a long conversation on this, is when you have like 50 or 60 entities, they've had very difficult time historically syncing up. It's like spaghetti mess, different databases where a single centralized ledger is a way to go to be able to ensure those 50, 60 entities that there's at least on the ledger itself that they're sharing, that the data is accurate, assuming the input of the data is accurate. So when we look at supply chain related things around provenance, there are really good use cases for why the blockchain technology, or actually a DLT technology, actually lends benefits instead of having to try and tie a bunch of spaghetti databases amongst different companies together to try to sync up and ensure that there is a single supply chain of accurate data. That's all I want to say. We can get into long conversations about why that is. If we're talking about 3 or 4 entities, you're right. I mean, there's no reason to. You might as well just have a distributed database. But this is historically having 50 entities. Like let's say all the different people who do leafy green lettuce, right? And let's say in a Providence, the leafy green lettuce has E. coli breakouts. And so you have HEB, you have Walmart, you have, Publix, whatever other supermarkets are that might have received that leafy green lettuce. They don't want to have their databases share with each other, to talk to each other, to say where that leafy green lettuce was at. So they can't prove to the FDA that if they shut off and pulled off the shelves those leafy green lettuces, that they got rid of all the corrupted leafy green lettuce. So the single ledger allows for a lot more efficiency around just that piece alone. There are other situations.
Sorry. Just on that, I don't understand that though, because if it's a centralized ledger, right, where all of these players are contributing into, why couldn't it just be a centralized database?
It's not a total. There's levels of centralization and decentralization, right? At the end of the day, and there's a lot of aspects around stacks. And we talked a little bit earlier about proof of work and who owns the actual tokens, can manipulate that. So you have different levels of centralization in a stack. It could be anything from the infrastructure level, like all these nodes running on AWS, for example. Well, guess who controls the whole entire fucking ledger at that point, right? It's AWS, or those who own the nodes on AWS. To the governance level that was just talked about recently about the social consensus mechanism around who can make upgrades and decisions around that. So we can go on and on about where that bottleneck is around centralization, decentralization. My point, though, is when you have 50 different entities that want to be able to communicate together but don't trust each other within their own database, having a ledger that allows you to replicate those copies but still be able to have a single ledger across those 50 entities is important. So it's not really decentralized, it's more distributed. The question is how distributed it is and what technology you use for that distribution. In this case, we're talking about under a permission network, right, where you have like 50 people that are participating. There is some benefits to that. And again, I'll be happy to just show you data on why this is working. And at the end of the day, it's from a financial perspective and a trust perspective and a risk perspective and a regulation perspective. In this case, the FDA with that use case, where there's benefits where companies see the benefit versus trying to do it via a normal database. And that's just that example. Well, actually, what I really came up here for, it was actually asked Jack a little bit about an early OG blockchain and his thoughts on it, because he's a hybrid sort of guy with Zen, and I wanted to understand what Jack might have thought about Digibyte, which is basically a 5 algorithm, 3 proof of stake and 2 proof of work. What his thoughts were on that, and did he ever look at that? Did he ever run a node? And basically your thoughts are on it, if you have any.
No, I'm sorry, I never looked at it. So it sounds interesting though, so I'd love to read more about it.
Can anyone though answer to this question? Does anyone know the value prop behind those AI coins, if they actually have backing them up?
I don't think there's any value proposition to any fucking token, if I'm being honest with you. It's all vaporware for the most part. Any token that's I don't know, there's one specifically that you're mentioning. Maybe they're cool, but most of these
He said vaporware.
I mean, most of these AI tokens, like it'll be like something AI. Like there was one that was Grok AI, and there was like Grok, and then there's like Girl Grok, and they just like add AI to the end of the name of the token, and then tell you they're going to make something, and they'll just pop on.
But you researched the teams, the team behind.
I mean, maybe I'm just saying, like it. they have as much of a chance of doing well as like if you're talking just price movement on the token.
No, I'm not talking about the price movement. I'm just talking about I just came here to gain some knowledge. Why did the price pump? That's all.
I mean, the price probably
that is its only. I think what Leap's saying is its only value proposition is that you have a chance, a gamble at number go up
because of the hype of the AI thing.
Yes.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah.
Like Leap just said, they'll tell you they're going to build something. Gullible people will believe it. They'll get wrecked. The people that founded the coins probably have a lot of the coins. They'll dump their coins. They'll make their money. They'll move on to the next scam. And that's literally
then I guess time will tell. Thank you guys for letting me on the speaking room, and I'm sorry if I hurt any Welsh or Hex people's feelings, but in my humble opinion, and sorry for my language again, fuck Richard.
Leap, can I ask? Sorry, there's hands up. So when you, I'll put my hand up.
Well, no, go ahead, Chris, and then I do want to jump over to Katie.
Well, I ran a space the other day about NFTs, and I'd love to have a conversation. Given that this is Battle of the Coins, it might be on topic. But I'd love to understand what people's perception of the value of NFTs are, and it's quite a controversial, potentially, and emotive subject. But that would be an interesting conversation that I'd like to hear. Certainly, I don't know whether anyone's got any appetite for that.
I mean, I can probably save a 2-hour-long conversation by just saying that asking like what the value prop of NFTs are, it's so relative. It's like asking what the value prop of a car is. Just for some people, a car is transportation. It takes them to work, takes them to buy groceries. For other people, a car is a hobby. Maybe they're a mechanic. They like to work on the engine, the carburetor, whatever the hell that is. And then for other people, it's a sport. They want to race the car, go as fast as they can, right, and beat out other competitors. And I think NFTs, and then for some people, cars are they'll collect cars. They like really enjoy the old models, and they'll go search for specific things, whatever it is. And NFTs are very similar to that. You have people that love, like, they would be the mechanic in the car analogy, right? They love the technical aspect. They love what NFTs can be used for, the proof of identity, maybe in an AI-driven world, all that good stuff. Then you have the car collector. The equivalent there is somebody here who maybe they collect art blocks. They like Fidenzas. They like autoglyphs. There's people who like to race the cars, right? So those would be the traders in NFTs. It's like they're trying to perform the best that they can, make the most gains that they can, flip the best, whatever it is. And then you have people who just truly enjoy them and want to participate. And then there's the community aspect. There's this aspect. There's that aspect. But I think it's kind of like what Juice was asking. What's the value proposition of those specific coins that he brought up? And I don't know those coins, like no disrespect to them anyway, but I think a lot of people they miss the boat. They middle curve NFTs by looking for specific utility or specific use cases, and I think that's like you're almost like entirely missing the point. And while I think there will be some projects that utilize NFTs for utilitarian purposes, maybe it's ticketing. We've seen a lot do that. Maybe it's again like proof of identity, like I said. The majority of people, they buy NFTs for one of two reasons. One, they want to make money and they want to flip. And I know a lot of people, like we had a conversation in the beginning of the space where the speculative aspect of these assets can be pretty devastating for a lot of people. I personally think it's good. To a certain extent, we need people that are willing to trade, that have liquidity, that want to speculate. And they're adults. They're free to do whatever they want with their money. And I like the fact that if I lose money here, it's my own responsibility. And I think that people should just take accountability when they lose money. It's not the market's fault. It's your fault. You made that decision. Now, on the other side, you have people who really like the community aspect of it. But there's community aspect in two ways. There's inter-community, which is like a specific NFT community. So if you have a Bored Ape and you're in the Bored Ape community, and then there's outer community, which is everything. So like my PFP is an NFT, but there are, I think, literally 48 or 50 people on Twitter that even use this NFT as a PFP, right? And there's very little holders, and there's not like a real solid, like there's like people who have and I love the artist, his name is Dark Farms, but it's not like really like a project. So I get nothing from the inter-community aspect. So I'm part of the overall NFT community. So that's really like what it is. And I think there's so many critics of NFTs. Like when I was at Breakpoint, I told the story the other day. I'm talking to this big Solana DeFi perpetual future trader, long guy, whatever it is. And he's just like shitting on NFTs. Like, I can right click them, whatever. And again, there's two parts here. There's the token that the NFT is, and then there's the art, what the token like essentially gives you access to or represents. And for some people, the token itself is the most important part because that gives you access to the utility, right? I can go to ApeFest, I can go do all these things, whatever. And there's other people who really like the art aspect because they just like fucking like collecting it. I bought this PFP for 0.15 when ETH was whatever. I think it cost me $600. This was February of last year. And it's given me no utility. The artist hasn't given me anything. Like, bro can barely respond to my DMs, whatever it is. And I'm never switching this PFP. I'm never selling it. I fucking love it because I enjoy the art. I like what the artist created. So that's like a lot of shit.
No, that's great. I appreciate you articulating the different use cases because originally I was like, it's art. If it was a Van Gogh, I'd buy it because if I could afford it, obviously, which I can't, because of the brush strokes and the history and the provenance and all this and NFT. You got that right click copy, so you take away all of that. But I think when you articulate some of the other use cases, it kind of starts to make a bit more sense from the points of view that you just mentioned. So thank you.
And even the right click thing, I think that narrative only works as a potential negative towards the way that NFTs are being used right now, is because people are not like, even though we've been living on the internet for 20 years, people still don't understand digital art and what it means. They just cannot fathom this aspect of art or something that you own that isn't in your hand as a physical item, which is just ridiculous. And I think once people become more comfortable with that, because again, a lot of us get it. We're here, we understand it. A lot of us played games or collected cards growing up, whatever. It's not that hard for us to understand, but for a lot of other people it is. But it's like the same thing. Like, I can take a picture of the Mona Lisa. That does not mean I own the Mona Lisa. And ownership has nothing to do with the physicality of an item. Whether you can hold it.
I think we probably part there a little bit because I think, like I said, with
just
the Mona
because
Lisa,
you put a lighter up your butt does not mean you're a dragon.
I mean, also true. But like the Mona Lisa, if you've got the physical original art, then you've got the, like I said earlier, you've got the provenance, you've got the history, the brushstrokes. You can see detail that a photograph then cropped and then printed out is a completely different item. Whereas the problem I've got with NFTs are, if you do right click copy, you do it at a binary level have an exact replica. You don't have it linked to a token, but you do have an exact replica of the baseline asset. And so for me, that's where the value diminishes. I don't see any.
It is linked to a token.
Yes. So this is where I think people get
confused. Yeah.
That
no, the token bit I get, I understand that, and if you then have benefits of being able to attend things, and there's kind of other tangible value that comes from ownership of that token.
So if we're just talking strictly art, so let's just talk strictly art. The Mona Lisa example, you can get a 1-to-1 print of the Mona Lisa from probably like the gift shop at the Louvre or wherever the fuck, and it's going to be very, like, truthfully, it's going to be very close. It's not going to be the same, obviously, but it's going to be very close. You can get the same proportions, whatever. And I agree with you. For picture to picture, a right-click save copy of whatever asset the NFT is representing, and the original is going to be identical. You're not going to be able to tell. But the value is in the token itself, and that's what proves ownership of the art. Like, I think people get way too attached to like the picture itself, and they're forgetting that you cannot right-click save an ERC 721 or an equivalent. You just cannot, and that is the value. And I think and there's going to be a lot of people that are going to give different examples or different arguments towards it. And I think a lot of them are valid, but yeah. And there's also a huge difference on whether the art is on chain or not. So like the right click save thing, where like one of the arguments is, well, you're hosting this shit on IPFS or another database and it can go away. And I think that's very fair. And that's a big argument in.
Yeah, that's why ordinals. I mean, if I was going to buy NFT artwork, I would buy it on the Bitcoin blockchain because I see it as the most immutable.
But, and I do agree, I agree with you. I like ordinals too. But then the argument.
I didn't say I like them.
Okay, well, I personally, I think
you know what I'm saying though. Yeah.
Okay, well then, what if the Ethereum art, or what if the art that's using the Ethereum blockchain, NFT, whatever it might be, if it's on chain, does the argument change? this is where I think the argument falls apart, because now it is on chain. Like, look at something like an autoglyphs where that shit is on chain. It's like literally on chain. Like, you can't right click save what that is. I just think that like the right click save argument, it just makes no sense to me, because it just shows like a fundamental misunderstanding about what this actually is.
But I think if you argue from a pure artwork perspective, I think you do lose this argument, because from a pure artwork perspective, you are getting an exact replica. It's not a picture, it's not a print like of the Mona Lisa. It's, the Mona Lisa is valuable because Van Gogh himself painted the brushstrokes that you have ownership of. That's where it gets its value from. And when you are able, if you were able to take the Mona Lisa and create an exact copy where it is indistinguishable between the two, then who's to say which one at that point is real? You muddle them up, and suddenly you've got no way of determining which one's which, right? But
you're actually wrong though.
Well, I don't think I am wrong, because at a binary level, you can replicate.
Yeah, but so you gotta go look back at the 1500s, the dark arts. If you study the dark arts, like your argument is like an argument from the 1500s all over again. Like back in the day, if art wasn't on a cement wall, if it was on paper, they would just say it's illegitimate. It's not on a wall. It can be transferred. It can be duped. It can be this. Every single art piece was supposed to be on a wall. And then the Roman Empire fell, and people wanted to store value, so they put it on paper and across the country.
And this is you mentioned something there that I think is so important. Is like when the Roman Empire, and I don't know too much about the dark arts, and besides from Harry Potter and Slytherin, I know defense against the dark arts. But you said like when the Roman Empire fell, they didn't want to put it on walls anymore. They want to be able to move it around, scale it, whatever. They put it on paper. I think this becomes a lot more compelling of an argument once you look at the problem and the solution that NFTs provide. So what is the problem? The problem is digital art does not have a great way. Like, you could do it in a centralized database, and there are platforms that have done that, but in a non-blockchain manner. I think Prohibition, like, they maybe did it before they do what they're doing now. But what was the problem is that digital
You're
art,
technically not even paying for the token, right? You're paying for the address. You're paying for like that artist saying, this is my address and this is a token that I created under my address.
Yeah, and that's
what gives it the legitimacy.
But you want to avoid the Enron situation, which is why you want it on something that not on a single database, right? You want to be able to not have Enron, have someone manipulate. And with traditional art, you have like APs, right? And even have serial numbers of, like, say, with the first 100, and maybe it's a black print, or you want to call it. So there's reasons for collectability and rareability. Like, oh, this is the first 100, and then they do like unlimited prints after that. And so there's value differences there between the artist proof, which is the first print, versus say 1 through 5, versus say unlimited small copies that they sell at any market. So yeah, you're right that you can get the exact physical looking image. The collectability and the value is in that print run and the print that the artist decides to make.
And I agree with that, and I see why people place value in that. I personally don't, but I see why people do, and I think it's valid, But the whole pure, if you take a pure art perspective, I don't think the argument stands up. I think it's better to. I mean, obviously, it's down to every individual to decide what they see value in. But for me, I think if you're looking at long-term store of value and you use the pure artwork argument, you lose, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think you're looking at it from a traditionalist perspective. You're not looking at it from a digital art perspective, and you got to look from digital artists.
No, I am. I'm looking at it from a digital art perspective, saying because it's digital art, I can have a binary exact copy of it, and therefore, you say you have ownership of it. I have it on my SD drive, and I have ownership of it. And who's going to take it away from me?
I think you're missing the entire point, though. Like Leap said that he owns this NFT and he's going to keep it as his PFP forever, right? Because
Yeah,
he
but I'm going to make
blatantly
it my
just
PFP.
likes it. It doesn't matter about your opinion. Value on anything on this planet comes from people, right?
Agreed.
We give
I agree.
value to everything. So if somebody finds value in an NFT or in artwork or in a certain collection, that's because people directly find value in it. You don't have to agree with them or see the same value that they do, right?
No,
Like your
I'm just
opinion
trying to
becomes
understand.
irrelevant to a point. It's
No, I
whatever
agree.
people find value in, it now holds value,
I
right? Like
agree.
they can flip them and resell them and do it for a profit and gamify that side of things, fine. But if people directly find value in
Like
something, like
Pepe?
you can't try and change their mind for that.
Yeah,
Well,
I agree, and I'm not trying to change their mind. I'm just trying to understand the logic. And if the logic is, well, I own the artwork and the artwork is immutable, but then someone can right-click copy and get an exact binary copy, I see that as invalidating the argument.
Hey, Chris, can I ask you a question? How can anything be exact if you allow for the notion of time? I mean, are we standing still? Are things not moving? Can you get anything exact if time is moving?
Well, the baseline artwork is it can be replicated at a binary level. It's code, right? It can be replicated at a binary level so that you have an exact.
Code exists in real time. It's live. It exists.
I agree. I don't
understand.
Guys, I mean, really important. I actually love this aspect of time, and it goes back to what Corey said before. Which, again, Chris, this is a totally fair conversation. So, don't want you to feel like you're getting ganged up on. But obviously,
No, it's fine.
A lot of NFT lovers up here. But let me just clarify this one aspect. The time is so important, and what
I'm
Corey
ganging up on Jack.
So it is so important because the NFT, like it is the like it's a huge part of it that you're missing is the provenance aspect, that the artists themselves are saying that this is the legitimate copy created at this time with this amount of run, and that itself provides so much value. I think, again, where people get confused is when they try to divide the NFT into so many different aspects, and I think even calling it an NFT is a disservice to what these things are, because the NFT is really just the digital certificate of authenticity. And again, like if you want to separate from that, as a digital artist, there aren't that many ways to distribute your art in a way that proves tangible legitimacy to that piece that you created at that moment for the amount that, like the unit count, however it is.
Yeah,
like,
but all these things that you're describing, Leap, are basically based. They're based on the token themselves, and I've already conceded that I think I can see where the value proposition from that comes. But if you, again, when you said let's break it down to pure art is based on people's enjoyment of art, and if you are paying for pure art, you're paying for something that can be immediately replicated and hung on a wall or used as a screensaver or whatever.
Correct. Wait, I had to break Mike. I apologize, Lee, but I think that this is pure art. Debating on the debacle of what is and what isn't art based on what Chris minds as art is art in my mind as the viewer. I don't know. I'm going to mute out and raise my hand.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I'd like to have my mind changed. I'm not here to say you guys are wrong and I'm right. I'm just still manning the position of if artwork is isolated out as from the NFT properties, then why does the artwork that can be immediately replicated hold any of the value? For me, if it's because it's one of five,
it can't
of these
because
tokens,
he
that's
holds
fine,
it from his wallet and it's his space, and this shit is difficult. I have to unmute and say, I don't care if you want to kick me, man, but you are the shit, Leap. I could only imagine your brain is about to explode. Fucking this guy's a G. If you have not retweeted, there's only 329 likes on this space. I don't know who you are, but just fucking retweet it. Like there needs to be another 1,000+ on it. Fucking give this guy some flowers, $1 million, put him on the fucking moon, paint his fucking picture across fucking Wall Street. Fucking dude, how have you not? No, bro, like let me cook. Like just please, like you literally had a seizure for fucking Web3. All right, like I love you, Leap. Like anything you need, you tell me.
Okay, look,
I'm there.
I appreciate I appreciate the kind words, but don't put me on the moon because I'd run out of air. But look, I think okay. The question is going so much deeper, and we have to go to the hands. But it's like, what is art? I think art can be the experience of, and also like the social consensus. Like that's a big part of this. We're not even talking about. We have social consensus within this ecosystem, whether it's Ethereum, Solana, Bitcoin ordinals, whatever it is. We have social consensus that we recognize that the original NFT minted by the artist is the original, and that gives you provenance towards that piece. Like you own that piece. Like we are so much further, like we're so far away from this aspect of just, hey, you can right click it and not right click it, because that is just like not a fair argument for something that is digital art, because then you could basically devalue and delegitimize so many things in the online world by just saying that they can be replicated. But I really liked what Augment said about the time aspect, because that was something I hadn't really thought about too. I want to throw a quick, we got to go to the hands. We got to go to Katie, and we got to go to Execute. Sorry, I'm playing too much Pokemon Go recently. Katie, what's up?
Hey, Leave. I really liked the conversation. So yeah, it's all good. You guys are awesome. But somebody brought up the aspect of trust, and I just want to go back to that, right? Because I think you said, like, why should I trust Richard Hart? I think there's like a misconception in crypto that most people don't talk about. And like reality is, at some shape or form, you have to trust someone, right? I think Jack stepped in and said, no one's asking you to trust anyone. Reality is, it doesn't matter what crypto or altcoin it is, right? You have to trust somebody at some point, because every single foundation, every single token founder, somewhere along the lines, there is token allocations. Like you see the Ethereum Foundation dump on your head every single year. Vitalik laughing on stream that he sold the top. Like when Binance launched, CZ owned 98% of the supply of BNB. Like whether it's a token allocation or time locked allocations to foundations, right? Or a token gets launched, you don't know if the founder is jumping into the liquidity pool before anyone else, right? Before anything, putting sniper bots out. Like everything is front run. Everything is some form of level of trust in crypto. It's just, where can you put your trust, right? Like, so I don't think the conversation of like no one's asking you to trust anyone in crypto is valid, because realistically, aside from Bitcoin, there is literally trust. And even in Bitcoin, like that's an argument of its own, because there is some level of trust there too. So we are a decentralized DeFi network where you try your hardest to rely on just code. But at the end of the day, there is a level of trust. And I think it's like wrong to keep constantly telling everybody and new people that there is no trust in crypto, because it's false.
But any non-pre-mined proof of work blockchain is pretty legit. It's very similar to Bitcoin, where it's distributed over time and mined by miners, and therefore it's the community of miners that are getting it. So I think you're speaking specifically proof of stake related blockchains, correct?
More so, yeah, but I mean, proof of work also has their own issues. So, I mean, again, like they're different conversations that you can go down, right? Like proof of work, proof of stake, and just altcoins in general. Every single thing has a level of trust, even if you're just talking about a basic ERC20 token, right? Like a meme coin, anything has a level of trust to the founder, to the people that deployed the contract.
Hey, Katie, if it helps, I literally trust everybody, like every single one of you mofos.
I would honestly say, please don't ever trust someone on the internet.
Yeah, I don't even trust myself. But I mean, Kate, I think what you're saying is very fair. But I would hope that at some point in the future, it even might be 10, 20 years from now, that we can eventually move to where trustless can be a real thing. Because I think right now, obviously, you're right. We have to trust that MetaMask isn't going to implement KYC tomorrow. We have to trust that Coinbase is going to make decisions that benefit the space and benefit the people using it. We have to trust that the ETH Foundation is going to move in a good direction, the Sol Foundation, whatever it is. There is a lot of trust here. We have to even trust that Elon isn't going to just ban crypto from this platform, which I don't think he would, but there are, you know what I mean? Like you could go very far with it. So hopefully we can move to a point where that's not the case anymore, because I think that's a big reason why
that's why they pay him the big bucks, guys.
What, Elon?
I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry. Like my elbow is so heavy it fell. I'm putting it back up.
Your elbow. Oh, your kid's your hand. All right, we got to go to execute. Execute, what's up?
I was going to chime in about what Juice was talking about before, but he dipped. He was saying that he doesn't want to invest in Richard Hart because he dresses up like a clown and whatever else, right? And I want to like think about like the complete opposite of Richard Hart. Who was it? It was SPF. Guy didn't spend a nickel on anything, but he robbed everybody. So it's like you got to pick your leaders, right? And somebody that's going to spend money. I mean, it's all just cloud chasing and bullshit, right? It's marketing. I'd rather go with it, and especially with like this next type of cycle, I think it is just gonna. In my opinion, it's gonna be you need hedges against Bitcoin. You need hedges against the market. You need hedges. So I'm really fucking with Richard still. Don't like what he did last cycle, but there's gonna be a bunch of gotchas. I'm still fucking with Jack Levin. Those guys, in my opinion, are the only hedge against crypto, like against Bitcoin and Ethereum. If Bitcoin and Ethereum go down technically, or they don't outperform like they have in the previous markets, I think the Richard Hart ecosystem and the Jack Levin ecosystem will probably like go the opposite way of whatever the regular crypto market's doing. That's just my opinion, though. So I think Juice isn't here anymore.
If ETH and Bitcoin, let's say ETH and Bitcoin collapse, and Richard Hart and the Pulse ecosystem or Hex ecosystem is like a hedge against that, dude. I think if Bitcoin and ETH collapse, none of this shit is safe. Like honestly, like I don't think like Richard Hart's gonna be the one that like that's not even disrespect to him or anything. I think like it's not like
hell no.
fucking,
You got Leap, David
it's not like
G's right here.
like
Good.
Like imagine like Bitcoin and ETH fall, and then people are like, all right, Algorand to hedge against this. Like, no, it's not. It's all interconnected. Literally everything moves with Bitcoin. I would say that something that's a much better hedge against crypto is like real estate or gold or any like physical, real life, tangible asset that has real value. Because like right now, most of this
I'm not
stuff,
talking about like actual collapse. I'm just saying like just shit gains, shit like just random weird fucking shit happening. Not like global catastrophe like Ethereum just turns off and Bitcoin gets fucked.
yeah, because like Ethereum, imagine like Bitcoin collapses, Ethereum turns off, Solana dies. Dude, none of this shit is. It'll take years, I think, for anything to recover. Like, I think
Doesn't Solana die like once a week?
No, Solana does not go
This
off
is
once
not
a week.
fair.
Okay,
This
the
is
last
a
time it went off,
global mining program. It's not turning off. Like it's not. Like
I think they
AI
Isn't it
was
like
a
an
snake and it could
N64?
just attach itself.
Isn't Solana like NES, like the old NES ROMs? You gotta like turn it off and like blow in the controller a little bit, and then you gotta like stick it back in really hard and like turn it on.
Whoa.
Isn't it like one of those?
That's not what we're dealing with, though.
Yeah, we're talking about blowing and sticking it in here. Okay, look, we gotta go to the.
Sounds like we're talking
but
about
I mean, look,
dildos. Leave. Come on.
Okay, you were the one who said that. Now, I just want to also disclose, like, as much as I love Bitcoin, ETH, and some of these other chains, there is no. I mean, dude, even Bitcoin could fail. I mean, I know that's like probably sacrilege to people. Bitcoin is my biggest holding. It's where I started. Trust me, I like it a lot. But dude, we never know. You're telling me that we're guaranteed that this shit is going to survive 30 years? I don't even know if the Earth is going to be here in 30 years. We're talking about like World War III, all these different things. Like people are making these like such massive claims of like this is going to be the next 1,000 years of the financial system. Bro, in the past 20 years, how much has the world changed? Let alone in the next 20 years, what's going to happen. We're going to have iRobot, Will Smith everywhere. Like, we don't even know. AI is taking over. Grok is ruling our lives. You pick the worst name for an AI system ever. I missed fucking Grok. It's at 130 mil market cap.
Yo, AGI is here.
Stop.
AGI
Like,
is here.
I'm going to sue because my cheeks hurt so bad.
Literally buying fucking Elon derivatives on Uniswap right now, just trying to feel anything. Just trying to feel a sense of life. I'm actually up on this one quite a bit. These things are so ridiculous, the names of these fucking tokens. People just come up with literally anything. And I'm like in these chats and people are analyzing the names and the tickers. Like that is the TA. Like, dude, this one's named like Elon AI Inu. And it's like, trust me, it's a derivative of the Inu play. And this is a hedge against Shiba. And if this one pumps, this one will pump. Like there's like real technical analysis behind the names here. Mimetic analysis. I want to throw it quickly over to David. David, what's up?
Oh my God. you're talking about Inu and just all this shit. Oh my god, I have a dirty ass fucking crypto mind. Anyways, Leap, kudos to you. This guy is a fucking champion of champions, and I would love just to hear like a night where it's like Leap just gets it all out. Just fucking like it's just Leap and just dumps that whole fucking just gets it out, and regular spaces fucking assumes role play. Robe, how you doing, man? Fucking this guy's an OG. Fucking I don't even know. There's so many like just like you guys want to talk about art? Like really? Like art's
Am I
great.
allowed to
Art's
respond,
great.
Lee?
Block. Yeah, please, Robe, jump in. Let's
Well,
hear it.
Leaf is
Take
the
the robe
host,
off.
David.
Let's hear
You
it.
know, there's a lot of people in the room, dude. Leaf's the host. You know,
Bro, Leap is such a G. How he runs his spaces.
Okay,
Like
all right.
everybody.
No, all right. Yeah, no, I appreciate the kind words, but with no more leap compliments.
All right.
Like this,
We're not gonna go there no more. But fucking yeah, you're right. You do it absolutely horribly. Yeah, man. This is not easy. To break it down to you guys like this. Yeah, you are in a PvP world. Facts are like first is entry, last is last position, right? Like that's crypto, right? Like everything beyond that, like uploading and doing all those difficult, like tedious tasks, like that's cool. Like I kind of came into the conversation where it was about like is Bitcoin the meta? Is the marketing done well enough? Is the team like capitulating? And there's just so many like market like they kicked me out in kindergarten. You guys should not be listening to me. It would be like looking for a 12-year-old for your accountant position. But long and short, I think the crypto market is always searching for a big ass green dildo on the chart, but that's not always the case. What is the case is a long ass waiting period for a massive amount of people to come on and trust a network, which God, everybody's bastardized these like slang terms, but of people or a belief system or a technology that is attached to a belief system that like works, right? And Bitcoin could be it. There's always times where things change. You have Amazon and then Amazon and then Amazon. But Bitcoin's fucking cool. And then you had like this thing called Ethereum, right? And art integrated. Art being a representation of emotion, visual distortion of emotions. Um, what's the other sense? Sorry, I'm dyslexic at the same time. Like last person you guys should be just like, going off of. But anyways, there's these like files that are upload to your brain, and now they are connected to a ledger that is like a permanent like factor. Like this piece of art connects to this and has a function of that. And people are misusing and abusing different functionalities of the Ethereum network. Cool. All right. Risk factor number one. Ethereum is like an amazing place. It's a fucking like pump rocket, fucking awesome. Bitcoin, super trusted, fucking based individuals that just like held that shit. And, you got Michael Saylors and all that. But oh man, it's just fucked up as everything's going on. It's gonna be a ride, folks. There is not we're test subjects. We're like the crash test dummies. All right. Like they can do whatever. Like they can just like do control alt reboot. The worst of the worst. And just give me 1 second, Lee. But I think ultimately, pardon?
Oh no, please.
Ultimately, as long as Thread Guy and Leap are going to be presidents of the new fighting free world, we're totally good. Like we're fine. I mean, like in like 5 years, Leaf
I don't
will
put this on.
probably
That's
have
too much
$1.
pressure. That is way too much. That's way.
Don't take things too seriously. Live life. Don't fucking suppress behavior. It will lead to bad things. You'll be a ticking time bomb walking around crowds trying to prove that art is art or fucking tech is tech. Bob and weave, fucking Leap, you're the shit. I'm gonna shut the fuck up. It's fucking like 3 a.m. You guys are fucking based ass chads. Join our fucking club. I'm Dave. Leap, go ahead.
I need to go to bed.
I'll let you go.
It's 2 a.m. Well, it's 2 a.m. here. It's 5 a.m. on the East Coast. You guys are fucking crazy. Like, there are literally East Coast people listening to this right now. So shout out to you guys. Well, look, we'll throw it to the rest of the hands here because I have some Papa John's pizza waiting for me in the fridge, and I'm not.
Lee, just a quick one. Sign. I don't know if you can see Sign in the audience, but he's a good guy. So I don't know if he's requesting, but he'd be a good guy to come up and talk about NFT stuff if you want to carry that conversation on at all. Just FYI, good guy.
I'll bring him up. I do want to keep everything here a little bit brief, just so we can wrap up the space here in a couple moments.
Yeah, cool, man.
But we are, for anybody who may be tuning in for the first time, we'll be here tomorrow night. I haven't done many spaces over the past 2 weeks. I really only did like 3 or 4 because I was traveling, but I'm back in LA now and we're ready to grind, ready to cook. So I want to go to some of these hands. David, appreciate you. I want to throw it quickly.
Bro, how do you do it? I damn near lost 4,000 feet. How do you do this? Like, how do you do it? Teach me your ways, bro. Like, I have all these motherfuckers like, do this and do that. Like, I fucking lose my fucking mind. How do you do this?
I mean, how do you do anything that you enjoy? I wouldn't know because I don't enjoy this. This is torture. It's hell. I get more gray hairs every single night. But on the real, like, I don't know. I enjoy it. It's fun. I like talking to people. I think, like anything, it can be stressful, but at the end of the day, like it's a really, really fun thing to do. And to be able to say like, this is like my career. This is the path that I'm taking, which is content, talking to people within the crypto industry. I mean, it doesn't get any cooler than that for me personally. So people always ask, how I do it. How I did it was I used to drink a lot of caffeine. Now I don't drink any caffeine, and I just hit my vape nonstop for 5 hours during the space and just try to make it through. But it's fun, and it's also nice to be back because I didn't do many spaces over the last 2 weeks. So taking a break is also really good. I was getting a little bit of burnout with the spaces just because I felt like the topics were kind of the same over and over again, but the space has been really nice. So it's been a pleasure. I want to throw it quickly over to Benjamin, and then we'll jump over to Sign, and then we'll probably wrap up here. Ben, good to see you and good to meet you in Amsterdam as well. Pleasure to have you.
Yeah, great to meet you. Good morning. Strap in, people. I haven't heard a conversation in spaces about like what the point of an NFT is, or can NFTs really be considered art in about 18 months. So I think we really, really are back. And I came in at about the point where I came in a bit late, sorry, but it was where Chris was talking about, and you were talking about the Mona Lisa and kind of like the provenance and the brushstrokes of an artwork, and then can it really be deemed the original if you can right click, copy, paste a real binary edition of that artwork? Ultimately, what makes the Mona Lisa or Sunflowers by Van Gogh or whatever, one of these amazing kind of like masterpieces legit is, I guess, knowing the story and where it's been and being able to track that artwork back all the way back to the artist, and then the artist's signature, I guess, when we're going back that many years. And if you think about it, like, because I'm just trying to refine the way I talk about this, because I'm becoming cognizant that so many more people are going to come back or in and ask this question for the first time, and I feel like we're all out of practice in terms of being able to really like share the answer here. But if you look at the way the blockchain works. Like, you can follow the true ownership of an artwork all the way back through everyone who has held it, all the way back to the wallet where it was, created, and or the deployer wallet. And that will be, the deployer wallet will always be the wallet of the artist that created it, or the partner that they worked with to launch it. And so for me, the whole right click save, copy, save kind of debate becomes a complete nonsense. And so I don't mean to be and say the word nonsense while Chris is still in the space. And hey, Chris, I've enjoyed listening to
one of the most
thoughts.
least offensive words that anyone's thrown at me. So.
But I feel like, if you can trace an artwork all the way back to source.
What about people that burn Ethereum tokens and move them to ordinals? I mean, you've got people that literally try to convert NFT artwork from one chain to the other.
But it will always exist on the chain, won't it? So the original, I believe, will always be the original.
Well,
it will always exist. You can't delete. You can't delete the stamp. I see it. By the way, I'm completely not technical, so I'm never going to get it right.
How did you track its provenance across chains?
Well, yeah, that's a really fair point. But yeah, so
if I
right click copy,
Chris, can you describe a layer 1, layer 2, layer 3? Can you describe a layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, web 1, web 2, web 3 in 30 seconds? Yeah,
just a second. I can, but just a second. Because Benjamin and I were just engaging on that. Okay, when we finished this point. So if you have a token on Ethereum, okay, and you're the original artist, and it's on, I don't know, OpenSea, and I right click copy, and then I go and inscribe that into the blockchain on Bitcoin and make it an ordinal, you're only the original author on the blockchain that you first inscribed it on. So how do you determine the provenance of that artwork then across chains? I think that is a key point that I really struggle to understand.
Chris, you can literally just look and see that it was created on ETH before it was inscribed on ordinals, and also you can see who the creator is, right?
But how do you know that? You can't know that from looking at the Benjamin's point is that you can always trace back its provenance. Well, you can't do that. What you're gonna say? You're gonna say we've got to go and search for it on all the other chains that do NFTs.
No, if you're going to pay for it, then you probably ought to have.
Really?
Yeah, like if you're going to pay for something, this is something that really irritates me about the entire
thing.
Like, if you're going to take the time. Now, hang on a minute. Sorry, I was really courteous there and let you speak, and you asked me a question. Now I'm going to answer it. If you're going to take the time to purchase something because it's art and you appreciate it, as a minimum, you should have done the research that suggests where it came from, who created it, why they created it, because isn't that why we appreciate artwork?
Yeah, but you create an image and you put it on OpenSea via Ethereum, okay, and you call it Benjamin's artwork.
Well, I don't put it on OpenSea. OpenSea is where I see it. I put it on.
Yeah. So I'm sorry to mute you, Ben. But I'm just muting the whole stage as a whole. You're just showing a misunderstanding of how it works, right? It's not on OpenSea. OpenSea is just basically a browser for these things, right? It can see NFTs. It's just how MetaMask isn't actually the wallet. The seed phrase can be imported into other wallets. And MetaMask just gives you access to, or it is the wallet, but it just gives you access to.
No, I get that. I'm sorry. You're right. It was a bad example. But if I mint something.
Wait, can anybody honestly describe what Web 1, Web 2, Web 3, and a layer 1, layer 2, Web?
Well, yeah, we could. But
I mean, we are talking
not
about
not relevant to what we're talking about, David. So why do you keep bringing that up when we're trying to have a conversation?
All right, hold on. Let me just get this back.
Because it qualifies.
I'm going to throw it back to Ben. It will go back to Ben. It's Ben's turn. I interrupted. That was actually my bad that time. Bad hosting.
No, not at all.
Go ahead, Ben. Sorry, the stage is glitched a little bit.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I couldn't unmute there for a moment. And I don't want to, sorry, I don't mean to argue or be rude or anything like that or combative or, but I do appreciate it sometimes when people let other people finish a conversation they're having. And Leap, I was saying the same point as you. For me, Chris is demonstrating a lack of, I think, true understanding of what, and I don't want to patronize you, Chris, because I don't know you well enough to know how well you do know, and I'm certainly not like a tech. All I know is that if I mint something, if I create something and I mint it because I'm a world-class masterpiece creating artist, which I'm not, but if I were, then I would sell it. I would make it available to sell, and I could post a link anywhere around the world and people could buy it. My expectation at the minimum is that people who bid or purchase or whatever and to buy that would do so on the understanding that they that I had created it. And so if they knew that I had created it, they would be able to find that in galleries or through social feeds or whatever. And then if you then ripped it and minted it again on a layer 2 or a completely different chain, it would, yeah, sure, on that chain, that artwork would originate with you. But anyone who understood, if we're talking about art history or canon of artwork or whatever it is in 200 years, because that's what we compared it to a moment ago, people there'll be other records of it having existed before the version that you created, and it's no different than people creating templates of what Banksy does and then going spray painting it or graffitiing it in any other
you can't
place.
This is the whole point, though. You can't directly replicate. So you take the Mona Lisa, right, and I go, right, I'm going to repaint the Mona Lisa, and then I'm going to say that I did that as original artwork. Anyone would look at that and go, that's not the original Mona Lisa. But the point you're making, I mean, the fact that I said OpenSea, I apologize, you're right, that wasn't technically correct. I do understand the technology. If I mint it on Polygon, for example, or Ethereum or whatever, so I mint the artwork and I say I'm the original artist, and let's just say I am, and then I release it and someone buys it, yeah, there's nothing to stop someone else right-click copying and having an exact copy of that someone might like, going on to Bitcoin and inscribing that as an ordinal, using ordinals to inscribe it, onto the blockchain, and then saying that I'm the original artist. Now, unless that person does due diligence and goes and checks how are they going to check it's a different artist, it's claimed to have different provenance. The only way to check is do an image search, and so if you do an image search, that kind of proves my point that
more of a contract search. You're looking for the original artist, right? You don't go to a Rolex dealer.
The only way you know the original artist is based on timestamps, but by that point it might be too late because you've already bought it. And so the only point I'm making is that Benjamin came on and said that provenance is what gives it its value. Well, how do you check provenance across chains if you're looking at buying ordinals on the Bitcoin blockchain?
It's the same thing. It's the same thing when you're buying a Rolex, right? You're going to go to a Rolex dealer. You're going to look at what you're buying before you buy.
You go to the right.
It's not the same thing. It's not. You can't say that's the same thing. It's not the same thing.
Give me an artist's name that's on the blockchain, and I can find you their contract address.
Yeah, but what if the artist's name's changed?
Then go to their website and they'll say, "Hey, look, my contract changed.
Understanding
this one now."
I'm claiming to be the artist of the artwork that Benjamin's done. Unless someone goes and stumbles across the same picture,
but then I'm not going to listen to you. I'm going to listen to Benjamin because I'm on Benjamin's art.
You don't know
care what the fuck you have to say.
You don't know Benjamin exists. You just like my artwork on Bitcoin. But the point I'm making is the provenance is not something that you can. The blockchain doesn't solve the provenance issue because it's only provenance on the chain that you're looking at it on.
It's a digital signature. It does solve it. This is the only reason why journalists.
Guys, the miscommunication here. Guys, there's a miscommunication here. The example he is giving is you don't know the original artist.
Yes. Okay, can I jump in here? Okay, a couple of things. One, first, hi everybody. Okay, there's like a little bit of a breakdown of like what you're expecting the NFT to do, like, and what you want the blockchain to do. Like, okay, let's take the Mona Lisa for example. How do we know that that is actually the fucking Mona Lisa at the Louvre, right? It's because we trust the Louvre to say, oh, this is the actual one. This isn't a repainted one, right? The whole point of the NFT is that it creates a trustless ledger on the blockchain of a pointer to, we can get into the
Well, no,
semantics of
you have
whether
to
or
trust
not
the
a
chain.
binary that existed on the artist's computer when you copied it to the blockchain is even still the fucking binary, or whether or not if you and I share that same file on our hard drives, if that's the binary. All that shit is semantic and doesn't really matter when it comes to the provenance of art. What the blockchain does is that it gives you a ledger that is verified trustlessly between an entire network to say, this is what the artist said at that time. It is not a mechanism of that ledger, just like you would say, and when I say ledger, it's just a piece of paper written down that this Mona Lisa transferred hands from the artist to this guy at this date. And we know that that ledger is not cooked. Those books are not cooked. It is verified.
Yeah, I agree, but it doesn't validate the provenance, which is the point.
But that is not the point of a
I know,
ledger to
that's what I'm
validate.
saying.
The
I know,
validation.
we agree. We agree. Benjamin's point was it does, and I'm saying it doesn't.
But regardless, the validation is on the side of the consumer, and the validation is provided by, like, we are able to verify it and validate it because the ledger itself is trustless.
You can't
That's the whole point.
you can't verify the provenance of the artwork because you have to trust the person that uploaded it to the chain.
Well, you have to trust that somebody painted it. At some point, like the artwork.
You can't check the provenance if it's cross chains, which is
but,
happening. That's happening.
Yeah, but my point is that at some point the creation happened, and
Okay,
that
I agree, but Benjamin's point is that the blockchain
It's going on
provides
chain. It's coming with a photo from the grandma.
Okay. Also, by the way, like, the art isn't. Sometimes the art is stored on chain. Sometimes, most of the time, it's not, dude. It's just a pointer to it. And really, NFTs are just like a digital title to this artwork. Like, because if you get into bits, like ones and zeros shared between, if we get into like the fucking physics and like what is an atom of a bit, like what is a bit on my phone and your phone? Is it the same bit? Is it shared? Is it one thing, or is it actually different things? Like, come on. At some point, we just have to say, okay, like, I take this ledger as truth. You know what I'm saying?
And I think
that's exactly the point. Sorry, and to your point, Chris, like, I totally appreciate the semantics of what I was saying and how you can, like, say I don't agree with that. So we'll agree to disagree on that point. Totally understand where you're coming from. The point I'm trying to make is
I'm not sure how you can disagree though with validating the provenance across chains.
Well, no, because the point I'll make is that if you rip off my work and mint it on another chain, at some point, if it becomes worth money and worth, like, someone doing the research on, you'll have bought the fake and someone else will have bought the original. Like, that's just how it will work. So yeah, I understand what you're saying.
The original on that chain. So then,
No. The original on the chain, like, that can be tied back to the person who created
it. Yeah, I'm just saying that there's massive scope for that to be missed. And then the other question comes down to whether is it the ordinal that has the value, and therefore it's a rare sat rather than the artwork itself. Which means...
God, Chris, please, God, no! Don't talk to me about rare sats.
All right, let's go to sign.
All right, we're gonna go to sign, and then we probably got to get close to the wrapping up here because it is two
I missed my spot in line, Leap, dude.
Oh wait, yeah, Robe was next. We'll go to Robe and then we'll go to sign.
Yeah, I wanted to get off on a whole tangent about pointers and how metadata can be changed and all that shit. But my DMs have just been flooded, Leap, with I know you saw that like the sexiest man alive was chosen recently, and like people were like, who would be the sexiest man in Web3? We're like, we think it would be Leap, but would it be Thread Guy? So we're just like, I don't know. I wanted to
If he
point.
gets to
Yeah,
talk about the sexiest man alive, I get to talk about the world's biggest dildo, and that word.
Okay. Wow.
no, dude,
How
this is my DMs have been flooded since I've been on stage. It's not my question.
how the mighty have fallen. At this point, I'm just gonna go with what Chris has said. Chris, I think you're right. I think NFTs are worthless. That we should just give up. It's over. It is over. So that being the case, I think everybody should send me their NFTs because they're all worthless.
I'm not saying that, dude. By the way, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I think I'm just looking at the arguments in isolation and then still manning the position as to whether or not that stands up. I think it's always good to have the conversation. I'm very happy to accept I might be wrong, but I want someone to change my mind with credible arguments. And I think when you start talking about the fact that you can trace provenance back through chains, and then I present one argument, which is what if it's cross chains? It does invalidate that argument to some degree, even though I understand that people might say, well, you need to know the artist.
Yeah, but Chris, even that can happen on the same chain too. Like, what if there was an original art on
Yeah.
Order? What if there's some original art that somebody minted to some rare Satoshi, whatever the fuck, and then but then it never got discovered, right? It never got discovered. Nobody knew about it. It never sold. And then in 5 years, some other artist steals that other artist's artwork and just puts it on the chain and sells it. Like, yeah, it's on Bitcoin originally, but like you can't find it if you don't know that it's there. So the issue that you're kind of coming up with, it discredits the social consensus and how like art sales even work, because like that could happen IRL too, and it does happen IRL. That is not an issue that only affects digital artwork. I mean, it affects physical artwork too. I mean, you're basically saying what happens if someone steals something and sells it as their own. Well, I mean, you could say this about literally anything. You could say this about literally anything, and I don't think it's a fair argument to give against NFTs, because I could literally give that against anything, any industry that exists. This has been a big issue with movies and gaming and people using emulators and things like stealing of someone's work and then selling it. It doesn't matter if it's already existed previously. This is something that exists elsewhere. I think it's just to make it the most simple is we have social consensus, and it's exactly. I think actually Robe gave one of the best takes here, but it was kind of drowned out a little bit. And I think that people should go back and listen to what he said, because we just create this trustless, decentralized ledger, and this is how we authenticate, and we just agree that okay, the first one is probably the real one. But then there's also an aspect of this that we didn't talk about, which was the legal aspect, because like we just saw with the Ryder Rips case with Yuga recently. You know what I mean? It wasn't just about the picture. It was about so much more than that. So there's a legal aspect here that doesn't get discussed too often. But I want to throw it quickly over to Sign. Sign, what's happening? What do you think?
Hey guys, thanks for letting me come up. Chris, appreciate you throwing a good word and let me come up here for a second. I don't want to be like completely off topic. It does have to do with NFTs and blockchain, but it's just something that's more of a concern, I guess, for someone who's not so deep into this stuff as you guys. I'm more of the person who's worried about government corruption or any type of corruption. Just know that I have a very large collection of tinfoil hats beside me right here. I have my tinfoil sombrero, tinfoil top hat, tinfoil yarmulke. My point is like, yeah, I have concerns about things. And I think one major thing that's like coming up that this technology could maybe be applied to is something like, the situation with the voting system. I guess my question is, maybe you guys can clarify if it's not too off topic, is like, would NFTs be something that would be applicable in a new, like something for, for voting for like our president? We have this big issue in this country here in America about whether or not these things are being, rigged and stolen and whatnot. And man, it'd be great if like the blockchain was as good as it sounds, or the NFT thing, or would those work in conjunction, or like has anyone ever thought about this and like how that would actually work out?
Blockchains break when they touch the real world. You can't use blockchains for real world shit until you solve the Oracle problem.
Absolutely incorrect. Blockchain is used for social governance purposes. I asked earlier, I apologize, Lee, but I have to, I'm bursting with fucking pleasure and joy with the answer. But anybody have a short term or short form answer for what Web 1, 2, and 3 is?
All right,
Layer
hold on.
one,
This is
layer-
a completely your sign asked a question that I will give you your Web 1, Web 2, Web 3 answers. But sign I mean, look, I think if we could figure out a way to use blockchain to fix the voting thing, that would be great. I mean, there's a lot of reason to believe that in the direction of both parties, not just Republicans and Democrats, but there was probably some malpractice or some unethical behavior done in regards to voting from both parties. And this has probably been going on for a very long time, probably since the inception of like digital voting, right? So if we could find a way that blockchain could fix that, I don't know if it's necessarily going to be NFTs like an ERC 721. I don't know if that's the best way to do it. But yeah, I would love a solution because, dude, I don't fucking trust these votes. Are you kidding me? Like, what reason do I have to believe that any of this stuff is legitimate or any of it is real? Like, they just tell us on the TV who wins, and then they're like, "Oh, I demand a recount," and then we just assume this random group of people that we have no idea who they are. They're counting the votes, and then they're somehow correct. Like, we just take all of this stuff at face value. That's the problem. We have to trust these industries. We have to trust these organizations. The entire point of blockchain is that it's trustless. Now, like we said before in the space, there's a lot of companies that we do end up having to trust, whether it's like Uniswap. We trust Uniswap that they're not going to implement a 30% fee overnight. They implemented a 0.15% fee. So it's like they technically could do it if they vote in that direction and whoever holds the most tokens with their governance. So we do have a certain level of trust, but eventually, hopefully, we get to a point where we don't have to trust. Now, to be fair, I'm down to look at NFT projects. I'm down to trust the founders of an NFT project that I've purchased. Right? Like, that doesn't need to be trustless for me personally, right? If it's something like even CryptoPunks, we trust that Yuga's not going to make a decision tomorrow that just devalues CryptoPunks. Like, imagine they just make a decision and try to add some weird arbitrary fucking staking mechanism to CryptoPunks and complicate it. So that would not be good for CryptoPunks. The best thing that they can do is just kind of leave it alone and let it live, let it breathe. So we trust Yuga to do that, and I'm fine with that. Like, I'm fine trusting specific entities as long as it's something I've chosen to buy into. But I don't want to have to trust Ethereum. Like, that should be trustless. I don't want to have some sort of central entity that I have to put my trust in. And with voting, I would prefer not to trust. I'd prefer just for it to be verified on chain in a decentralized manner, something that can't be rigged. And the question is, will the governments ever allow that? And it's like, why the fuck would they?
No.
Yeah, like, why are they gonna allow that? They want control. Like, this is the thing about blockchain, that it's actually been very surprising to a lot of people say like the government's fighting against it, and they definitely are in a lot of regards, but there's still a lot of people in the government that are fighting for it, and which is always good to see, because I think blockchain kind of it takes away a lot of the power of these governments. So we're gonna have to see what happens with it. And David, for your question about what's Web 1, Web 2, and Web 3, and what's an L1, L2, and L3.
Yes, sir.
I mean, look, these are all just marketing terms. Like, the Web 3
No,
was
but
created.
they do have like a true ethos where they came from.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, the term Web 3 wasn't it created by A16Z as a marketing term? So
Can
like,
I just do it real quick?
You're asking me to describe it.
All
I'm
right,
going to do it.
you. It's you, buddy.
Look, I see Web 1 as read and write, right? And I like emails, blogs, this sort of thing. I see Web 2 as like you can put your own shit on the internet. Like, that's when creation was a big thing. Social media, YouTube, that all of that to me is very Web 2. And then Web 3 is like ownership of things online. And that's where crypto comes along, where you can like actually have true ownership of stuff, which goes back to the conversation.
You said that so phenomenally.
Oh
because,
my.
All right. You.
I'm losing my mind. I'm losing it. I mean, it goes back to what Chris was saying before, which was if you can just right-click save a piece of art, is there actual ownership there? And I think, again, this is a complete paradigm shift of how we think about ownership, and the physicality of something should have nothing to do with whether or not you own it or not, which, again, is a hard thing for a lot of people to understand because they maybe didn't grow up in a digital environment. But for the kids that grew up playing MMOs, who play Fortnite now or Roblox, whatever, like this idea of them owning something online and it's theirs and you can't take it away from them is important. Like that's something that they can really resonate with. And it's nice when it's not centralized. Like even Vitalik, like where did he get the idea for Ethereum? Is Soul Siphon, the warlock skill in World of Warcraft, that was nerfed. And he was like, fuck this. Like, I don't like that that like Blizzard can just make this ability that I really like, that they can make it bad. And if you've ever played an online game and you've gotten banned, which, okay, I've gotten banned from a couple games, not for doing anything crazy, but like they're just trying to keep a player down. That's all I'm going to say. But when you invest a lot of money into a game and you get banned for whatever reason, they are literally stealing from you. And blockchain kind of fixes that. So at least to a certain extent. And it's like what Ben was saying earlier, like we can go all day about the semantics of like what ownership is or what this is or what that is. But the reality of the situation is that this gives us a way to do ownership in a digital environment much better than we were able to previously. And while maybe the current form of blockchain or Ethereum or Solana or Bitcoin, maybe those are not the final rendition of what this stuff ends up becoming. Maybe in 10, 20 years, we have completely new consensus mechanisms, way better ways to do online ownership. Maybe that is what happens. But as of right now, these are the best options that we have, and we have to work with them. Because what is the alternative? The alternative is that we just succumb and agree that these like Web 2 entities or whatever, they just have complete like dystopian rulership of all of us, and there's nothing we can do about it. Finally, we have a chance to say, no, this is our way of doing it, and hopefully it can catch on. But anyway, Simon, go ahead.
I guess the one thing that's really like freaking me out is just like, because for months in spaces that I'm hosting, we've been talking about how everybody has to fight against this central banking digital currency. And I was thinking about it, it's like, my God, no matter what we do, if a government is going to go to an all digital fiat or whatever, I'm just nervous as all hell about that. Mostly
It
just
better be based as fuck.
So, I mean, fiat clearly isn't going to work long term, right? So we need some sort of solution. And I'm not an expert on this in any way, but and we talked about this the other day, like even then moving to the direction of CBDCs, that's kind of scary for me personally. I actually like stable coins, but I don't like a stable coin owned by the government and something that's mandated as this is the only way we can transact. But even the thing with stable coins is like, look at Tether, they can just freeze your wallet. They just freeze your wallet. So even a stable coin in its current state may not be the best thing. But the thing is,
USDT is a proxy contract.
Well, this is where it gets kind of confusing from like a philosophical stance, is because we want full decentralization, but then we also appreciate when Binance can fucking roll back their chain when $1 billion hack happens, right? Like we appreciate decentralization,
trading, like a real business.
We appreciate decentralization, but then when Ethereum had the DAO hack and the majority of the ETH supply got hacked, people voted to get that shit rolled back. So it's like there's a middle ground. Like Binance, they can just make that decision. Nobody needs to vote. But we kind of appreciate that because we want Binance, or people who maybe have their money in Binance or on BSC or whatever, however you want to put it. They like that can happen because then it saves their funds. Like it makes it so that the whole ecosystem doesn't get fucked. And then you have the other side where it's more decentralized with Ethereum, where people voted to get the chain rolled back. So those are kind of the two ways. But it's like, I feel like we can't win because some people want this
Bitcoin.
Wouldn't that be where like a third party would come in? Like, wouldn't that give usefulness back to a bank or some sort of middleman to give insurance?
Maybe, but Chris, you mentioned Bitcoin, but Bitcoin got rolled back too.
yeah, it's happened twice when it was much smaller, and it was because of one was a database changeover, so they changed the technology. It
What was
caused
the
a
other
bug.
one? Was the overflow bug?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Bullocks.
but it happened twice, and it was solved by the miners. But as a and look, I'm not here saying Bitcoin is perfect, right? But I'm here saying that what you said earlier absolutely resonates, in that you have to look at what is the best that we've got. And when you're looking at the antidote to CBDCs and government central banks control, that is the value proposition for Bitcoin. You know, going back to all these other things, you know, people obviously free to do whatever they want. But in terms of storing your wealth in the most decentralized asset class outside of the financial system that's corrupt, where the monetary policies are set by the, you know, corrupt politicians and elites.
Hey, Chris, is that financial advice?
No, it's my
Finish
opinion.
the sentence.
It's my opinion.
Is that
it's my opinion.
BYOR or is that NFA? Is that
All right,
Chris?
okay.
100%
I love
do your own
I love you guys. I'm just fucking with you.
No. Listen, you're right though. It's a great point. 100% do your own research. It's not financial advice, but my opinion is that is the value proposition that Bitcoin offers.
But are you supposed to retweet the room when you're in a space?
All right, you fuckers. I'm losing my goddamn mind. Look, Chris, I love Bitcoin. I do. But even with Bitcoin, it's like the top 10 holders own so much of the supply, like all of this stuff too. And even with Ethereum, I love Ethereum, but how much of it is basically locked into two staking? Like Lido has as much as they have. The other one, what is Jito? What is the other one called?
You did not say Jito. Don't ever.
I can't even remember what the fucking
again.
name. I can't even remember what the name of it is.
But that's the thing with proof of work, right? The number of coins that someone has doesn't matter in terms of the consensus and the protocol.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. Maybe we should just all move to Cardano. I feel like that's really the solution here. Look, we're gonna go over to.
We're moving to Africa.
What?
Leap, I love that you just can't bring yourself to shut the space down.
I know. I need to shut this shit down. I've been doing this. Has been over 5 hours now. It's 2:30 in the morning. I gotta go to bed.
No, what's a layer 1, 2, and 3?
I'm about to send you back to a layer 69. Execute. I'm throwing it over to you. We're going to you next. So Execute, talk to me. Why is Richard Hart number one?
I actually just want to talk about the nomenclature with the BlackRock ETF with Bitcoin. I was reading it the other day. They're saying if Bitcoin has a 51% attack, or not 51% attack, but another fork, that inside their contract it says that they have like rights of deciphering what the right Bitcoin is to give to their clients, and they could take the other one and do whatever they want with it, pretty much. So that's technically like another attack vector for the future. If you guys want to go read up on that.
Very cool. Yeah, very cool. Also, kind of unrelated, but I think we were talking about this yesterday or whenever our last space was. Well, actually, I'll save this topic for next time. I'll actually save a topic for tomorrow. But look, I appreciate everybody. I could run this space probably for another hour or so, but I think we've kind of come to a good wrapping point here. I appreciate everybody that popped out tonight. This is our first space in a while. I'm finally back in LA. Greece was fun. Amsterdam was fun. But yeah, I like it here in the United States. Like, it's treating me pretty well, and I'm happy to be back in LA around my friends. So look, I'll be here tomorrow night, probably like 7:30. If I'm being realistic, 7:30 Pacific time, 10:30 p.m. Eastern time. Thank you to everybody that came. This was one of our biggest spaces in a long time. Also, everybody that engaged in the spaces tweet. So if you have any final questions, comments, concerns, or you just want to support the space, drop a like, comment, retweet. It's pinned at the top, or you can click that button in the bottom right-hand corner. Spaces do not count towards impressions, so we're not monetized through X. Which is, again, I really hope Elon can fix that. So really the only way to show engagement is the engagement on the spaces tweet itself. So it helps me more than y'all probably know. But that being said, please go take care of yourselves, get some rest. I'll see you guys in 18 hours, something like that. I love you. I appreciate you. Peace.